At a swanky internet cafe, a tense game match was unfolding inside a glass room. Below, a crowd of enthralled gamers watched intently, their eyes glued to the screen, mouths agape with admiration at the pro gamer's masterful plays and skills. You'd expect such a seasoned gamer to be a man. However, when the match concluded with a spectacular victory, the person sitting in the D chair turned around to reveal a petite and pretty young woman, leaving everyone astonished. After all, gaming is usually a male-dominated domain, with only male pros achieving such heights. Her name was Tong Yao, and her lightning-fast fingers on the keyboard earned her a spot on the elite ZGDX team, led by the captain Lu Sicheng, who had conquered the world's largest gaming tournaments. Every move of the team was closely followed by the media, making Tong Yao the subject of much scrutiny. When she received the invitation to join the famous team, she initially hesitated. Her close friend, Jin Yong, even claimed it was a scam. But a second message arrived, inviting Tong Yao to watch ZGDX's match against Team CK. She readily accepted because her ex-boyfriend played for CK. Back home, however, when she asked her mother for permission to go to Shanghai for professional gaming, her mother, convinced it was a scam, flatly refused. Undeterred, she decided to fly to Shanghai to watch the match instead. Upon her arrival at the venue, she was greeted by hundreds of fans and security guards. She walked straight inside and caught a glimpse of the person on her phone screen, none other than the bespectacled man standing in front of her. With some unknown supernatural force, the ZGDX team's manager, Shui, instantly recognized Tong Yao. After a few greetings, he handed her a hotel room card, assuming she was already a trainee on the team. Suddenly, the lobby erupted into chaos as hundreds of people swarmed in, shouting, "Lu Sicheng is here." Manager Shui looked at the crowd and explained that one of their members, Ming Shen, was injured and unable to compete regularly. This is why he had reached out to recruit her. If she still wasn't sure, she could think it over. Outside, the ZGDX members stepped out of their car, one by one. Two reporters approached Ming Shen, asking if he could still play despite his injury. He was unsure what to say until Lu Sicheng stepped down, saying they couldn't disclose that information, and walked into the competition arena. Tong Yao tiptoed to get a better view, only to meet Lu Sicheng's gaze. He was the man she had been idolizing for so long. Earlier, while shopping at a supermarket, Tong Yao found a huge bottle of water, the only one of its size. It was too heavy for her to carry, so she decided to hide it on a high shelf, intending to retrieve it later when she finished shopping. Unbeknownst to her, Lu Sicheng saw this. You'd think he would offer to help, but instead, he took it down and bought it for himself while she was away. He later recounted how he had encountered a little dwarf that day who thought hiding it up high would keep it safe. Little did she know that tall people could easily spot it with a single glance. At the same time, in the supermarket, Tong Yao was fuming, cursing the person who stole her water bottle, unaware that the culprit was the man who was now sharing the elevator with her, her idol. Seeing her struggle, juggling her heavy bags and struggling to reach the elevator button, Cheng Ka asked which floor she was going to and pressed it for her. It wasn't out of kindness, but because he found short people irritating. The spring season playoffs were fast approaching, and people were lining up to get their tickets. A bunch of annoying guys in the line behind Tong Yao and her friend were making snide remarks about a girl playing games, even though they weren't any good themselves. This angered Tong Yao and her friend, who gave them a piece of their minds. When Tong Yao mentioned she had reached the Tokyo Master level, a very high rank, the guys scoffed. Yeah, right. But Tong Yao didn't even bother arguing. Inside the stadium, the seats were packed. The match began, and fans cheered loudly, waving their support for their favorite teams. The match began with the CK team, 5 men in white uniforms, taking the stage. The MC, an older gentleman, introduced each team member by name, but when he reached the last name, the audience erupted in cheers. Jian Yang, Tong Yao's ex-boyfriend, also known as CK's ace player. Next up was ZGDX. Their fans, including Tong Yao, were no less enthusiastic, even surpassing CK's fan base. Lu Sicheng, the team's most popular member and the object of Tong Yao's admiration, was their ace. Both teams' fans, clad in blue and red, cheered them on with equal fervor. The players took their positions, and the two MCs enthusiastically discussed this year's tournament's reigning champion. The cameraman focused on the audience, capturing the passionate exchange of kisses between Tong Yao and her friend, Kim Yang. Seeing his ex on the big screen, Jian Yang choked on his drink, declaring her his grandma. The match officially began, and both teams were free to choose their in-game characters. CK's team wanted Jian Yang to pick Jade Emperor. but it triggered a flashback for him. It was the character Tong Yao always chose when they played together. So, he opted for Great Heavenly Dog instead. On the big screen, the teams battled fiercely. The white team took the initiative, launching coordinated attacks that elicited excited shrieks from the crowd. Jian Yang was overwhelmed by ZGDX's relentless pressure, finding himself constantly on the scoreboard. He lost his composure, but Cheng Ka, emotionless as ever, took advantage of the situation and, with the help of his teammates, pummeled their opponents, making them cry for their mothers. ZGDX crushed CK in the first round. During the break, Jian Yang stepped out, and Tong Yao followed suit to use the restroom. Jian Yang caught up to her, explaining that he knew she would go to the restroom and had been waiting for her. He asked why she was watching him play, leaving his teammates speechless. Jian Yang clarified that he had been unable to contact her because his coach had confiscated all the team's phones during training, not because he wasn't interested in her. But she replied, "We're over. I'm here not because of you, but because ZGDX invited me to play for them." Jian Yang found her excuse ridiculous. The second round began. Due to Min Shen's injured hand, his fast clicking caused him pain, hindering his in-game performance. Jian Yang, wielding a large sword, and Min Shen, with his wings, engaged in combat, but Min Shen was eventually defeated. No problem, though. Lu Sicheng was carrying the team. He, dressed as a Japanese girl in a kimono, faced Jian Yang directly. His purple-eyed character unleashed laser beams, leaving Jian Yang with no escape. Lu Sicheng delivered a finishing blow to Jian Yang. The match neared its end, and everyone assumed ZGDX had the victory in the bag. But unexpectedly, Min Shen was caught. His whole team wiped out, giving CK the win. The third round started immediately after. Knowing Min Shen's weakness, CK targeted him relentlessly. His hand was in excruciating pain, causing Cheng Ka great worry. This was the final round, determining the winner, so both teams poured their hearts and souls into the match, pushing themselves to their limits, eyes wide with determination, striving for victory. Min Shen's arm was numb, barely able to function. The final result came as a shock. ZGDX lost completely. Min Shen blamed himself for the defeat. CK celebrated their victory with cheers and shouts, while ZGDX stood there speechless, their faces etched with disappointment. The battle was over. The audience, about to leave, sat down again. Strangely, everyone returned to their seats because Min Shen, holding a microphone, stood up and addressed the crowd. He apologized for his poor performance and announced that he would retire after this match. He thanked his teammates and fans for their support, for being by his side through thick and thin. He bowed, both apologizing and thanking the audience. Min Shen's fans, both blue and red, rose to their feet and chanted his name, creating a heartfelt farewell. Min Shen's passionate speech about his love for the game inspired Tong Yao. She decided to take his place and play for ZGDX. After the match, Jian Yang once again blocked Tong Yao's path. Seeing this, Kim Yang stepped forward, giving them space to talk. Seeing his fans pointing at Tong Yao, Jian Yang pulled her into a secluded corner and asked, "Are you really serious about playing for ZGDX? Didn't you initially oppose my professional gaming career? You like me being in control, don't you? Why ZGDX? Why not join my team?" Tong Yao didn't want to engage with him. She turned to leave, but Jian Yang stopped her. "I taught you how to play this game. You're joining ZGDX to get back at me, aren't you?" Tong Yao, frustrated, reminded him that playing professionally was her dream, and it had nothing to do with him. Then she left. Just as she walked away, Lu Sicheng descended from the upper floor. He didn't hesitate to speak his mind. "I heard the whole argument. Why did you have to fight so loudly?" News of a girl joining ZGDX quickly spread like wildfire online. Female fans expressed outrage, while male fans were surprised and mostly skeptical that a girl could possess professional gaming skills. Tong Yao, on the other hand, packed her bags and moved her belongings to the ZGDX headquarters, where she would be living with the team members. The other members were reading articles and forum posts about their new female teammate, but they trusted their manager's judgment and believed in Tong Yao's abilities. Unbeknownst to them, she was knocking on the door. Lu Sicheng opened the door, not bothering to see who it was. Thinking it was a fan delivering snacks, he took them and immediately shut the door. A moment later, a message popped up in the team's group chat. It was me, the new girl, and Lu Sicheng just took my snacks and slammed the door in my face. I'm still outside. Everyone's eyes widened as they looked towards the door. After a while, she was allowed inside. While she had admired Lu Sicheng before, she now saw him as an enemy. He coldly demanded she delete her Weibo post, but she firmly refused. Two of her teammates watched with amusement, having never seen anyone dare to provoke Lu Sicheng before. Finally, manager Shui arrived and introduced everyone to their new teammate. Only Miao and the chubby guy welcomed Tong Yao enthusiastically. When she introduced her cat, Big Bun, Lu Sicheng displayed his usual difficult demeanor. "This little thing will affect my sons," he said, referring to the fish in his fish tank. To avoid a fight, the chubby guy took Tong Yao to her room, a pink-themed haven, which he had prepared for her, assuming girls would like it. Tong Yao found it extremely cheesy. Even her cat rolled her eyes. Despite that, when asked if she liked it, Tong Yao politely said yes to maintain courtesy. That evening, she messaged her parents to let them know she was safe. The group chat was filled with happy family vibes. After reading her daughter's message, her mother immediately changed her name to Unhappy Family, leaving Tong Yao heartbroken. Fortunately, her father was supportive. They video called, and Tong Yao showed him her overly pink room, assuring him she was doing well. Soon after, her mother joined the call, unleashing a torrent of scolding. She didn't believe gaming was a good career for her daughter, who had just graduated. Tong Yao wanted to explain that gaming wasn't bad, and she was even playing professionally, but she couldn't get a word in edgewise. She had no choice but to end the call. The next morning, Tong Yao woke up before everyone else. The only person available to prepare lunch was the maid, since everyone at the headquarters stayed up late playing games and slept in until midday. They didn't eat breakfast, so she just cooked lunch. With no food available, Tong Yao went exploring. She entered the trophy room, where ZGDX's countless championship trophies and impressive achievements were on display. Finally, it was noon, and the chubby guy was the first to wake up. He'd forgotten there was a girl in the house and still wore his Superman underwear. One by one, the other members emerged for lunch. Even Lu Sicheng forgot about the new addition to their team, so he confidently walked downstairs in his pajamas. Upon discovering Tong Yao, he acted cool and collected, even though he had been caught sleeping. He went back upstairs to change. Min Shen also made an appearance, shaking hands with Tong Yao. He revealed that he would now be the team's coach, much to everyone's delight, since he was still staying with them. The role of the mid laner in the team is now given to Tong Yao. Lao Ka was recruited by Ming Shen and is also closest to him, so now that he's not playing anymore, a strange girl replaced him. It makes Lao Ka uncomfortable, so he left. Ming Shen chased after him. The others comforted Tong Yao, telling her that Lao Ka is just like that and doesn't dislike her. She went upstairs with manager Shui to sign the contract. As soon as the pen touched the paper, the chicken belonged to ZGDX, officially starting their partnership. After coming downstairs, Xiao Shui instructed Lu Sicheng to take Tong Yao to the supermarket to buy some necessary items. Of course, he refused because he was in the middle of a game. He wanted to become the champion of Tokyo in 2 days, but this isn't something that can be achieved so easily, so 2 days is a bit of a power fantasy. Hearing Xiao Shui say that, Cheng Ji found it annoying, so he had to leave the game and go to the supermarket with Tong Yao. Outside, he directly called her Shorty, and also asked her to delete her Weibo. But Tong Yao wasn't going to let someone who treated her like a delivery girl and locked her out forgive them easily. While they were arguing, 2 men appeared. The one wearing a hoodie was Gai Jai, the ex-boyfriend of the female lead's best friend. The other one was Liang Sheng, a teammate of Lu Sicheng and also a college friend of Tong Yao, so they chatted naturally. Lu Sicheng didn't want to talk much, so he left first, drove to the supermarket, and asked Tong Yao to get in the car. Looking at the luxurious car, she wanted to work hard for a future that she would definitely have. At the supermarket, Tong Yao went to choose slippers. She first asked Lu Sicheng which color was better. He immediately answered blue, and then threw the pink one onto the highest shelf. Tong Yao was actually just asking to eliminate the boy's choice, so she would choose the opposite, but she couldn't reach it. Lu Sicheng couldn't stand it anymore, so he got it for her. But he was also very chivalrous when he saw Tong Yao carrying a bag of stuff. As soon as they got to the car, they were discovered by fans who rushed to take pictures. Tong Yao wasn't wearing makeup, so she was very shy and hid behind Lu Sicheng. Lu Sicheng's fans were very friendly and asked Tong Yao to take a picture with them and their idol. Finally, after they finished taking pictures, the fans left. Tong Yao watched them leave and asked Lu Sicheng if she would have many fans who loved her like that in the future. But Lu Sicheng didn't think that far ahead. He only thought about the present. If Tong Yao couldn't prove her ability to replace Ming Shen, she would face backlash from extreme fans. When they got back home, they found their teammates practicing. The manager and the chubby boy had specially prepared seats for her. They were busy playing games and didn't know that there was an explosion of pictures of Tong Yao talking with Jian Yang, and then going to the supermarket to buy things with Lu Sicheng online. It's certain that she has some kind of shady relationship with these two. Back at the ZGDX headquarters, this was the time for Tong Yao to show her abilities. Her fingers moved quickly on the keyboard, making the chubby boy admire her amazing skills. The three people watching were also impressed by this girl's talent. Xiao Shui and Lao Maio were shocked when Tong Yao won in less than 5 minutes. The chubby boy had to exclaim that Tong Yao transformed into a different person when she played games. But Lao Ka coldly criticized her playing style for being too individualistic and not caring about her teammates, making everyone silent. Lu Sicheng and Ming Shen went outside to talk. Tong Yao's style of play is very bold and indeed lacks a team spirit. Previously, Ming Shen had tested her and lost to her. But someone with such skills can be trained, so he chose her. Now that Ming Shen has become a coach, he is sure that he can train this girl. As they were talking, Lu Sicheng's father called and said that his mother had run away from home in anger. So he had to go home tomorrow, leaving Tong Yao to Ming Shen for training. The next day, Ming Shen brought a pile of materials. He emphasized that the key factor in participating in a competition is not individual victory but team victory. Tong Yao agreed to train to change her skills. The first step is to practice professional hand skills, which are different from playing games. She needs to practice these basic hand skills. Ming Shen was right beside her, offering support, followed by the support for the whole team. Their learning was very serious, but sometimes Tong Yao would yawn out of boredom. At night, she had to practice playing each character in the game, practicing until dawn without a wink of sleep. Tong Yao was so bored of learning that while Ming Shen was away, she opened a card game to play. But as soon as she saw him come back, she quickly switched screens, but it was too late. Ming Shen had discovered her. Knowing that she was exhausted, he allowed Tong Yao to go to her room to rest. In the evening, the chubby boy went up to wake her up to play doubles with Lao Ka. Remembering that Lao Ka disliked her, Tong Yao immediately woke up and went downstairs. She sat at the battle table. The purpose of this doubles match was to see if Tong Yao had learned to cooperate with her teammates. The person paired with their team was unexpectedly Jian Yang. On this side, he also noticed that his teammate was Tong Yao and happily sent a message saying he would protect her. However, the opponent's team revealed that Lu Sicheng was on their side, leaving Tong Yao wondering if she had done anything to deserve this punishment. There was only one more match left for Tong Yao to become the champion of Tokyo, so she didn't want to lose. Lu Sicheng and the chubby boy taught her a trick: if you can't win, you beg. So, as soon as they entered the game, Tong Yao sent a message begging Lu Sicheng to spare her. But this trick didn't seem to work, and Lu Sicheng still defeated Tong Yao. Jian Yang on the other side was angry because he couldn't protect her, so he turned around and attacked Lu Sicheng. He won once and happily sent a message to Tong Yao saying he would protect her. Even the chubby boy couldn't help but roll his eyes at his cheesy line. Lu Sicheng was truly angry and defeated Jian Yang and Tong Yao again. If you can't win, you continue begging. Tong Yao sent another message begging Lu Sicheng for peace. The chubby boy also tried to save Tong Yao. He picked up his cat and placed it by the fish tank. Tong Yao understood and replied to Lu Sicheng, "Hurry home and don't play anymore. My cat is about to eat all your fish." But it didn't work. Tong Yao had to resort to another tactic: "We all miss you, so come home quickly." Jian Yang read the message and couldn't sit still anymore. He sent a message in the chat box: "No one is paying attention to you, so stop sending messages. If you want to win, let me help you." Tong Yao stopped playing, and Lu Sicheng immediately called her, saying he was going home today. This surprised Tong Yao. "Why are you telling me?" At this point, the internet was buzzing about the match between Tong Yao, Lu Sicheng, and Jian Yang. What kind of relationship do they have? The fans were all speculating and commenting under the posts. There must be some kind of complicated love triangle. Someone quickly found out that Tong Yao was Jian Yang's first love. Tong Yao's parents saw the posts on a sports farm and immediately called their daughter, asking her if she was playing games or having a relationship. Tong Yao explained that it was all a misunderstanding. "How can I control what they're saying on there?" But her mother still didn't quite believe it, so Tong Yao had to hang up. Lu Sicheng came home and asked her about her relationship with Jian Yang. On the other side, Jian Yang was also very angry because he was seen as the male lead who loved but wasn't reciprocated. His teammates saw him like this and came to ask him about his relationship with Tong Yao. In Jian Yang's mind, she was his ex-girlfriend. She chose the path of professional gaming because of him. He was the one who taught her to play games, and gradually, they played together and supported each other. Jian Yang taught his girlfriend every skill with great care. During that time, they were very happy. For her birthday, she gave him a watch that he still keeps. But on that same birthday, he told her he couldn't go to school anymore and had to train and compete professionally. They had to be separated during the competition. Jian Yang had teammates and victories, but the number of messages they sent each other decreased day by day. The geographical distance was what caused them to drift apart. One person was busy with competitions and enjoying the spotlight, while the other was lonely and waiting for the other to come back. Later, Tong Yao decided to break up on her own. Though Lu Sicheng didn't probe too much into Tong Yao's past with Jian Yang's teammates were less hesitant. They teased Lu Sicheng, saying he had raised an enemy from a young age by teaching her those impressive skills, only for her to turn into a competitor. Jian Yang, never truly agreeing to the breakup, sent Tong Yao a message asking her to get back together. Upon reading the message, she nearly choked on her drink. Tong Yao didn't bring this up, only apologizing to Lu Sicheng, knowing he'd never been embroiled in any negative rumors. This time, she was the cause of the online gossip. However, Lu Sicheng brushed it off. He understood that a girl hanging out with a group of guys would naturally attract whispers. The real goal was for her to prove herself. Tong Yao immediately raised her hand above her head and promised him she'd do her best, making Lu Sicheng recall her first promise of never letting her cat eat his fish. Tong Yao received messages from some overly enthusiastic fans, complaining that she dared to hold hands with their husband while strolling. Tong Yao felt this was absurd since she had never held Lu Sicheng's hand. Upon hearing this, he took her hand himself, leaving Tong Yao speechless. Lu Sicheng said, "You're holding it now, so what are you still upset about?" This made Tong Yao immediately retract her hand and hug her cat for comfort. As she was regaining her composure, she received another message from Jian Yang, asking her to get back together. Lu Sicheng, feeling curious, tried to sneak a peek, but Tong Yao caught him and he quickly averted his gaze. He wanted to use his authority to read her message, but Tong Yao refused. Thinking she was arguing with fans, Lu Sicheng stepped in and typed in the group chat, "It's not like that. Stop making assumptions." By speaking up, he was essentially taking the bullet for Tong Yao, which deeply moved her. Tong Yao continued, "Whoever becomes Mrs. Lu will be very lucky." This made Lu Sicheng embarrassed, so he grabbed her head and told her not to talk nonsense before leaving. Meanwhile, on Jian Yang's side, he was rejected by Tong Yao and began to suspect the real nature of her relationship with Lu Sicheng. He immediately called his best friend, Gai Jai, to ask. Learning that there was nothing new between his ex-girlfriend and his rival, he was reassured. Soon, a friendly match between the ZGDX and FLG teams took place. They played 6 games, ZGDX winning 4 and losing 2. The opposing team had a Korean member named Kun, who was the world champion last year. In the game, Kun had a dominant role in the jungle, with his weakness being bottom lane and strength being mid lane. So if ZGDX wanted to win, their jungler and mid lane needed to work well together. After strategizing, the match began. Lu Sicheng performed exceptionally well, offering great strategies for the entire team. As soon as the jungler arrived, Tong Yao landed a hit on him first. Kun on the opposing side was impressed and sent a message in the chat box praising Tong Yao. The battle between the two sides was intense, neither side willing to back down. The skills of Kun's team were not to be underestimated. The battle reached its climax. Tong Yao saw that the opposing team was desperate to win and was using all their tricks, so she didn't hesitate to retaliate. To everyone's surprise, Tong Yao secured victory for ZGDX. The chubby boy and Lao Mayo praised her impressive skills, but Lu Sicheng believed her style of play was reckless and ambiguous. When everyone had left, Tong Yao opened Kun's livestream. He was expressing his excitement about the female member of the ZGDX team, making Tong Yao happy. Seeing this, Lu Sicheng walked over and shut her phone off. Tong Yao demanded a reward for her outstanding performance today, but the gift Lu Sicheng gave her was a hideous flower drawn on her hand with permanent marker. That evening, the chubby boy streamed the match again. Tong Yao's number of fans increased, and she directly spoke to them, clarifying her relationship with her ex-boyfriend. She also cleared Lu Sicheng's name, saying she was new to the city and he only took her to the supermarket because she didn't know the way, not on a date. To celebrate their victory, everyone went out for hot pot. Thinking it was just a regular hot pot place, Tong Yao volunteered to pay. But when they got there, she realized it was a 5-star restaurant with high-quality fresh ingredients, so the price was very expensive. Seeing the prices on the menu and the table setting, Tong Yao realized it would cost her a whole year's salary. She was so shocked that she didn't dare to touch her chopsticks. The chubby boy, noticing her mood, said, "We're just messing with you. Lu Sicheng is paying for this meal." Hearing that, Tong Yao finally relaxed and boldly ordered more food, ready to devour it all. At this moment, her parents, worried about her, secretly packed their bags and went to the ZGDX headquarters to find her. There was only Lao Ka inside ZGDX. Indeed, people show their true colors when they're alone. Lao Ka, usually cold and indifferent, was now home alone, wearing headphones and dancing enthusiastically without noticing the two parents standing frozen, watching him. Late at night, everyone walked back. While walking, Lu Sicheng received a call from his father, saying his mother was starting to cause trouble again. His father, afraid of his wife, asked his son to come home. Everyone said that being afraid of one's wife was normal. Tong Yao curiously asked the chubby boy about Lu Sicheng's family background. She learned that he was the young master of the Lu Corporation, a large conglomerate. His parents were also shareholders of ZGDX. While they were engrossed in their conversation, Tong Yao bumped into Lu Sicheng. The chubby boy ran ahead, while Tong Yao was grabbed by the hand by Lu Sicheng. It was just a gentle hold, and he complimented her on having soft hands before walking away. As they reached the front door of the headquarters, they ran into Tong Yao's parents. Inside, Tong Yao brewed chrysanthemum tea and sat beside her mother, trying to soothe her anger. Her mother kept worrying about her future, but her father was different. He was only focused on the high-end computer, constantly asking the chubby boy about its features. To reassure Tong Yao's parents, everyone took turns being friendly and talking about the benefits of professional gaming. The manager wanted Lao Ka and Lu Sicheng to warmly greet Tong Yao's parents, but seeing their unpleasant expressions, he thought it was better to avoid them. Seeing that her parents were slightly reassured, Tong Yao began to lead them to her room to rest. Once in her room, she expressed her passion to her parents again, persuading her mother to trust her to pursue her dreams. She explained that if her mother wanted her to have a stable job, her life would be dull, and in her old age, she would have no joy. Such a life wouldn't have any meaning. Her father thought this made sense, and her mother could only sigh. Tong Yao continued to persuade them, saying it was only 3 months before the national tournament, and if she still felt it wasn't suitable by then, she would come back. Her mother, still uneasy, asked her daughter about the guy who was rumored to be dating her online, a guy with the name Jasmine. Tong Yao tried to dodge the question, but Lu Sicheng knocked on the door. He said the room for her parents was ready and introduced himself as Lu Sicheng, adding that he also went by the name Jasmine. He then proactively offered to carry their luggage. Seeing this tall, chivalrous young man, her parents were quite pleased. The next morning, Tong Yao took her parents to tour her luxurious accommodation. To make her parents see they were living a healthy lifestyle, her teammates woke up early and prepared breakfast for everyone. Lao Mayo was even practicing weights while studying English. Lao Ka also cooperated by offering a fake smile, showing that he was friendly. Even Tong Yao had to admire their acting skills. How can they be so good at it? Seeing that her teammates were living a stable, healthy, and polite life, Tong Yao's parents felt reassured and went home. After seeing off the old couple, the team continued to discuss their battle plan. While studying, a delivery person arrived. Lao Mayo went to receive the delivery, returning a while later with a gift and a large bouquet of flowers, sent by Tong Yao's fans. Lao Mayo began to read the letter that a male fan sent to Tong Yao, making her feel something was wrong. Could it be her ex-boyfriend? She quickly rushed over to stop him. By the time Tong Yao managed to get the letter back, Lao Mayo had already finished reading it. At that moment, the manager entered and announced that the club had approved his proposal for the team to increase their practice time and stop sleeping in. They had to wake up at 9 a.m. from tomorrow. Everyone was worried. To ensure their health, they were no longer allowed to play games until midnight and had to go to bed early. Everyone was used to waking up late, so the next day, it was already time, but no one was seen. The manager was forced to use the loudspeaker to urge everyone to wake up. Forced to gather outside, everyone had their eyes closed and were yawning loudly. The first order of business was physical training. Lao Mayo, experienced in this area, was enthusiastic. He clearly said to jog slowly but ran ahead by himself. leaving the rest of the team to trudge behind him. They finally made it back inside. Tong Yao immediately begged Lu Sicheng to talk to the manager about changing their schedule. This was nothing short of physical abuse. Unbeknownst to her, he was live streaming. Tong Yao was oblivious until Lu Sicheng spoke, causing her to awkwardly sink down and hide. The fans immediately demanded she livestream. Manager Shui also urged her, pointing out that the contract stated trainees had to livestream. Tong Yao was at a loss, so she agreed, asking for a few minutes to prepare. She went to her room and called her best friend for help, asking her to come and do her makeup. Her best friend, Kim Yang, immediately arrived. Lao Miao, seeing such a beautiful girl for the first time, immediately fell head over heels, but Kim Yang didn't pay him any attention. She quickly went to her room and started doing Tong Yao's makeup. Kim Yang's makeup skills were not to be underestimated. She promised to help Tong Yao overcome the nightmare of being made to look bad by the camera during live streams. Tong Yao walked downstairs, her face now accentuated. Even Lu Sicheng couldn't help but look at her for a second. As for Lao Miao, he didn't know what kind of lipstick Tong Yao was wearing. Lao Ka, beside him, immediately displayed his knowledge, saying it was carrot orange. He was right on the mark, and Kim Yang gave him a thumbs up, making Lao Miao beside him start fantasizing. He even took the initiative to open the door for her, offering a smile. At this moment, Gai Jai, realizing his ex-girlfriend was nearby, immediately ran to find her, but he was a step too slow. Kim Yang had already driven off. Meanwhile, Tong Yao had begun her first live stream. She hadn't even turned on her webcam, but the view count had already reached tens of thousands. When the chubby boy saw this, he exclaimed, "Wow, 300,000 viewers for her first live stream." Even Tong Yao was stunned by the number. The fans were eagerly waiting for her appearance. When the camera turned on, it exploded with praise for her beauty. Tong Yao was embarrassed and greeted everyone before starting the game. Lu Sicheng, sitting beside her, also watched the live stream, reading the comments and getting furious. One comment said ZGDX was exploiting child labor, because Tong Yao looked like a primary school student. Lu Sicheng kept hanging Tong Yao's head in the background, which was annoying to listen to. He told Lu Sicheng to stop, but of course, he refused. Every insult about her height reached Tong Yao's ears, even though she had her headphones on. She was incredibly frustrated and ended up losing the game, causing fans to tease her by saying she lost in the first round. Were her previous wins just from someone playing for her? Lu Sicheng didn't stop teasing her, which made Tong Yao angry and she left. However, a screenshot of her face while playing the game was trending on Hot Search. She now had a new nickname, Gaming Goddess. At the same time, Lu Sicheng received a challenge request from Tat, his former team. But he refused because Tong Yao still needed more practice. Because of this refusal, the Tat team captain, during an interview, mocked ZGDX for recruiting a girl who lacked skills, which is why they didn't dare accept the challenge. News of the Tat captain's mockery of ZGDX quickly spread like wildfire online. Due to the overwhelming public opinion, the higher-ups immediately told the manager to accept the challenge from Tat. But Lu Sicheng adamantly refused, saying Tong Yao's skills needed more training. The manager was in a difficult position, caught between Lu Sicheng and the club's director. The other teammates were also hiding behind trees, listening to the two arguing. Manager Shui said the club wouldn't listen to his opinion. They had already set the match time and designated Tong Yao as the player, which made Lu Sicheng a bit annoyed. Manager Shui tiredly asked Lu Sicheng, "Why are you protecting Tong Yao? Is it because you like her?" The other teammates held their breath, listening for the answer. But Lu Sicheng refused to answer. Instead, he explained that he used to be on a team with a Tai, so he knew he was ambitious. Anyone who had competed against him and lost ended up losing their spirit, either giving up or becoming too discouraged to win the next tournaments. This was why many people refused to accept Tat's challenges. Tong Yao was a newcomer to the team, but she had already shown impressive results. Everyone believed that if she encountered obstacles, she would easily waver, unable to withstand the pressure and end up crumbling. That was why I didn't want to agree to the match against Tat. Tong Yao was deeply touched by his words. Lu Sicheng predicted that a Tai would use the Jade Sprout, the character Tong Yao was best at, to defeat her, making her even more devastated. Upon hearing this, the manager realized how dangerous this situation was. Everyone felt that Tong Yao shouldn't be in the match. Lu Sicheng had noticed the gossip going on, and since Tong Yao had already heard it, the manager and Lu Sicheng gave her the choice of whether she wanted to play or not. Surprisingly, Tong Yao was not afraid at all. She wanted to take justice into her own hands. She felt that she might as well face it head-on. It was better to be defeated now than during an official match. After hearing Tong Yao's statement, Lu Sicheng didn't know how to advise her, so he resigned himself to fate and allowed her to compete. Sure enough, the opposing team chose Jade Sprout, the character Tong Yao was best at, forcing her to choose the red spider lily. As expected, Jade Sprout, in the hands of a Tai, completely overwhelmed red spider lily in Tong Yao's hands. Tong Yao continuously ended up on the death screen, and her teammates tried to comfort her. But in her eyes, everything was in black and white, just like the outcome of the match today. Everyone understood her current state of mind, but they avoided talking about it. The manager told everyone to go to sleep, but Tong Yao stayed behind, continuing to play the game. Only this time, she played unconsciously, lacking the feeling she had before. It wasn't until late at night that Lu Sicheng saw Tong Yao still online, and he couldn't sleep either. He quietly placed a glass of milk on the table for her. Tong Yao's eyes were red, but she still insisted on practicing. Lu Sicheng didn't scold her or criticize her, but simply covered her eyes with his hand, as if saying, "That's enough for today." Finally, Tong Yao put down the mouse and burst into tears, venting her frustration. "I'm not Jade Sprout, what's going on?" Lu Sicheng gently stroked her hair. He knew that saying anything more at this moment would be superfluous. A night of sadness passed quietly. News of ZGDX's defeat against TAT quickly spread like wildfire online. Someone deliberately posted the match video online. Some mean female fans commented, if Tong Yao wasn't on the team, the other ZGDX members could have reversed the situation. She's truly trash. The ZGDX headquarters learned that TAT was intentionally releasing the video to provoke them. Tong Yao was devastated and couldn't do anything. She locked herself in her room for a day and a night, crying. They called her a low-quality domestic product. Seeing Tong Yao's breakdown, her teammates worried about her. The manager was about to comfort her when she went downstairs and said she needed to go out for a bit to find her friend, Kim Yang. Indeed, only girls can understand each other. She directly took her best friend to a bar to relieve stress. As they sat and talked, it was clear that Kim Yang was very optimistic. It was just a practice match, not a real competition. She was still young and inexperienced, so it was normal to lose the first time. While comforting her, an older man approached them, trying to get to know them. Fortunately, Gai Jai arrived and pulled the man up by the hand, forcing him to leave. Kim Yang saw Gai Jai as her ex-boyfriend who left her for gaming, but they hadn't officially broken up, so he still had deep feelings for her. He called Kim Yang, "my wife," causing Tong Yao sitting beside her to get goosebumps. Just that one sentence was enough to make Gai Jai shut up and listen to Kim Yang speak. Kim Yang continued to comfort her precious friend, telling her not to be sad anymore. She even offered to buy tickets to Las Vegas for Tong Yao, truly a wealthy best friend. Gai Jai, sitting beside them, didn't forget to text Jian Yang, urging him to come to the bar. If he wanted to get back together with his ex-girlfriend, this was the perfect opportunity. Jian Yang immediately took a taxi and headed over. When he arrived, he was worried to see Tong Yao's appearance. Gai Jai also took the opportunity to pull his girlfriend away to a different spot. Kim Yang was very perceptive. She knew what was best for her friend, so she immediately sent her location to Lu Sicheng, asking him to come pick up Tong Yao. Upon receiving the location, he didn't say a word and immediately left. Jian Yang could only sit beside his ex-girlfriend, stopping her from drinking more. Then he apologized again and begged her to get back together. "The flowers are already wilted, it's too late now. What's the point?" Tong Yao was completely drunk, and Jian Yang kept whispering sweet nothings in her ear, so she didn't understand a word he was saying. Kim Yang told her to run over and hug her friend. At this moment, Lu Sicheng also arrived. As soon as he saw Tong Yao, he went over to pull her away. 5 people sat down and talked properly. Lu Yu was overseas when he heard that the new member of ZGDX was bullied by the opponent, so he took it upon himself to come back and help. The manager refused, but Lu Yu, who had been banned from competing for playing dirty, was just asking for fun. Upon hearing this, Tong Yao laughed in his face. "What a jerk. Lu Cheng wants to compete with a drunk girl." Meanwhile, Tong Yao was half awake and half asleep, causing trouble beside Lu Sicheng. She even blew her nose into his sleeve. When Lu Sicheng handed her a tissue after she blew her nose, Tong Yao stuffed it back into his hand, making everyone laugh. Lu Sicheng calmly used this as an opportunity to reject his brother. "See, There's already one crazy person on the team. We don't need you to be a gamer." He was afraid of being hurt, but Tong Yao misunderstood. She thought Lu Sicheng was trying to kick her off the team, so she immediately stood up, blew her nose, and gave it to the other teammates before finally leaving. Tong Yao slept until the next morning before getting up. She brushed her teeth and went downstairs to meet the manager. He told her that her performance last night was spectacular. This reminded her of yesterday. To convince the team captain to let her compete, Tong Yao had jumped around crazily and sang loudly for everyone to see. To calm her down, Lu Sicheng had to drag her into the kitchen to take her medicine. Remembering these things, Tong Yao wanted to find a hole to hide in. She didn't know where she got it, but she found a Monkey King mask and put it on to go downstairs for practice. When Lu Sicheng saw her, he made her a glass of honey water. Then he sat down and started telling her about her crazy antics from the night before. She not only bit her cat, but also bit his hand. Lu Sicheng wanted to take off Tong Yao's mask, but she wouldn't let him. She said she was embarrassed and ran upstairs to call her best friend, asking if she had bitten anyone else at the bar yesterday. She learned that Lu Sicheng had fought with her ex-boyfriend to carry her back, so she decided to keep the mask on. Downstairs, the other three had returned from the supermarket and saw Tong Yao's seat was open. The chubby boy went to greet someone, but it was Lu Yu. The chubby boy and Lao Ka didn't seem to like this guy. Right after they went to talk to the manager, Tong Yao went downstairs wearing her mask. Lao Mayo asked her if she had some new tricks, and Lu Yu quickly interjected. Probably because she's so embarrassed. She won't even stand up and offer her seat. Tong Yao cleverly tricked Lu Yu to get her chair back. To protect this precious chair, she even brought it to the dining table. Lao Ka and the chubby boy clearly showed their dislike, so Lu Yu picked up his food and sat somewhere else, refusing to share the table. She couldn't eat with the mask on, but Tong Yao refused to take it off. Lu Sicheng couldn't stand this childish act anymore, so he directly removed the mask for her. Lu Yu also realized that the other two disliked him, so he stopped smiling. In the evening, everyone practiced, but Tong Yao was given special permission to go to bed early. However, she opened her phone and saw her account was active. She immediately went downstairs. She knew it was Lu Yu using her computer. She wanted to get it back, but he was playing with a tie, so she was a little scared. Lu Yu said to give him time to prove his abilities, so Tong Yao obediently stood beside him, watching him play. Lu Yu's skills were not to be underestimated. He won the moment he entered, which made Tong Yao admire him. He was playing against a tie of the Tat team, but he wasn't afraid. He actually felt excited. Tong Yao was still affected by her previous loss, making her quite nervous. Lu Yu easily defeated a tie and led the team to victory, which forced Tong Yao to acknowledge his ability. Lu Yu said, "Everything needs preparation." He researched a tie's gameplay videos in the past and was even a substitute for Ming Shen, Lu Yu said. But the chubby boy immediately interjected. What about his good performance? He was banned from competing, and it cost the whole team a chance to participate in the finals. Ming Shen's injured hand is also related to Lu Yu. The chubby boy stood up and said directly, "I don't accept someone like him being on the same team as me." Then he left. Lu Yu sadly said nothing, as it was all his fault from the past. Everyone was practicing together, but now everyone left. Tong Yao was incredibly curious. What exactly happened between them? She went online to search for information about why ZGDX withdrew from the competition that year. Back then, everyone was discussing it intensely. The fans expressed their disappointment, believing that ZGDX couldn't handle the pressure, so they withdrew. But no source mentioned the reason for the match. Just now, Lu Yu played on Tong Yao's account and defeated a tie, which immediately caused an uproar online. Some fans were excited, while others believed someone must have played for him. Being famous meant facing the pressure of public opinion, which was truly difficult. Tong Yao went downstairs to get some water, feeling a headache, when she heard the chubby boy and Lao Ka talking about Lu Yu. She slowly walked over to join their conversation, wanting to ask them about Lu Yu, but the chubby boy only told her to go to sleep and went inside, leaving Tong Yao standing there, catching the breeze. Early the next morning, her best friend called and said there was an emergency with the ZGDX team. Tong Yao opened the video her friend sent her. It was a video of people fighting, resulting in Ming Shen's injured hand. Tong Yao went downstairs in a daze, but she was even more shocked to see everyone busy receiving messages. The administrator of the website told her that she had carelessly liked a post about Lu Yu injuring Ming Shen's hand while scrolling through the web, so they believed the video was posted by her. The manager analyzed the situation. This definitely targets Lu Yu. He just finished his ban and came back, and now he's entangled in a drama. Only people within ZGDX and the other team know about the incident at the karaoke bar. Both sides got into a fight due to Lu Yu's harsh words, but the other team wouldn't have posted the video, because they know public opinion is terrifying, so this must have been done by a ZGDX member. The chubby boy stormed out and confessed that he was the one who posted the video. He wanted Lu Yu to be kicked out. He couldn't accept a teammate like him. Lao Ka agreed with him, as Lu Yu's childish attitude of provoking trouble ruined Ming Shen's career, and the entire team was implicated. Ming Shen stepped forward to explain. Lu Yu didn't start the fight for no reason. It was because the other team said some hurtful things first. Lu Yu didn't need anyone to explain for him. He criticized the chubby boy, saying that posting the video wasn't any different from implicating the rest of the team. The chubby boy retorted, "I did it, but I'm willing to take responsibility." The two of them exploded, wanting to fight, which caused chaos. Everyone held Lu Yu back, and Tong Yao led the chubby boy outside. After he calmed down, he started telling the story. A year ago, everyone on the team went to a bar to celebrate their victory in qualifying for the finals. Some members from the Zika team were also there. The tournament organizer asked why Lu Sicheng wasn't there. The manager said he wasn't feeling well. The other team, bitter from their loss, said, "He was playing so aggressively just now," which was sarcastic. Lu Yu stepped forward and drank a glass of wine with them for his brother. But Ak from the other team was still very provoking. Lu Yu knew they weren't convinced, so he directly poured 2 bottles of wine into a large glass and drank it all by himself, getting very drunk. When he went to the bathroom, he heard the other team talking bad about him, saying he only made it to the ZGDX team because of his brother, which infuriated him. Lu Yu silently walked behind them and grabbed a bottle of wine from the bartender, hitting Ak hard in the head with it. Ming Shen was also there at the time, and the two sides started fighting. Lu Yu was beaten up by them, but Ming Shen stepped forward to protect him. He was pushed aside, fell to the ground, and his hand hit a shard of glass, causing a serious injury. At this moment, Gai Jai appeared and threatened to call the police, so they finally left. Back to the present, it was the conflict between Ak and Lu Yu that caused the accident to Ming Shen, which was why the chubby boy was so upset. Tong Yao was about to say something when she received a call from Kim Yang. Her best friend said her boyfriend was live streaming to clear Lu Yu's name. At this moment, Gai Jai was telling his fans about the truth of that year. Back then, in the bathroom, he accidentally overheard the conversation of the Zika team. Ak had spent a lot of money promoting his team before the match, but they unexpectedly lost to ZGDX. Already bitter from the loss, Alaska immediately called some of his gangster friends to the bar to cause trouble, wanting to break the arms of the ZGDX members. But they didn't expect Lu Yu to show up, and they took the opportunity to beat him up and even hurt Ming Shen. The ZGDX members felt guilty towards Lu Yu. He protected everyone but refused to explain, causing them to misunderstand. But Lu Yu felt that Ming Shen's injured hand was a result of saving him, so it was only right. Now that they knew the truth and understood each other's hearts, the whole team was more united. Lao Ka and the chubby boy also apologized to Lu Yu. Finally, they could all smile and livestream the competition together, taking the opportunity to explain everything to the fans. Lu Yu also happily ran over to show Tong Yao his contract with ZGDX. The chubby boy even said sincerely, "I apologize," and he went into the kitchen to cook dinner for everyone. It was clear that he was more than just a foodie. He was also a great cook. That night, everyone was treated to curry. The chubby boy personally brought a plate of food to Lu Yu. He had been deducted 3 months of salary for posting the video. Tong Yao sighed, "So now the chubby boy will be borrowing money from me for a long time." Everyone's meals had less meat, but Tong Yao noticed that Lu Yu's had an extra layer of meat hidden underneath. It was clearly unfair. The chubby boy was favoring Lu Yu, making him shyly run up to his room. Left at the dining table, Lu Yu started arguing with Tong Yao over whose seat was the real reserve seat. Tong Yao was bullied and couldn't fight back, so she kicked her feet to ask Lu Sicheng for help. She thought he would side with her, but unexpectedly, Lu Sicheng said, since Lu Yu came back, he should know his place. He meant that he should give the main spot to Tong Yao. Everyone at the table stopped eating. Their cold captain clearly sided with Tong Yao. Seeing everyone's reactions, Lu Sicheng had to say, "The two of you should compete fairly and see who has more skills." The manager immediately agreed. Then Lu Yu quickly pushed his chair and new computer over, challenging Tong Yao. "From now on, there's no need to fight for a place with this fool." The next day, Tong Yao was allowed to go out to relieve stress with Kim Yang. It's true that Kim Yang is the beauty queen. She took Tong Yao to different places to pamper her from head to toe. But Tong Yao was only worried about Lu Yu. She wondered if he would take her main gaming position once he came back. She was so gloomy, even while having a relaxing day. After the outing ended, Tong Yao returned home and was called aside by Lu Sicheng. He criticized her for having colorful nail polish, long eyelashes that blocked her vision, and her perfume that suffocated the other teammates. "Why do you have to spray perfume so close to people?" This scene was caught by Lu Yu, who took a sneaky photo. "Delete it, or I won't." Lu Sicheng threw a slipper at Lu Yu's face. The two brothers chased after each other, leaving Tong Yao behind with her chaotic thoughts. That night, she confided in her best friend, saying Lu Sicheng made her remove her eyelashes and nail polish. Kim Yang, with her extensive romantic experience, knew immediately that Lu Sicheng had feelings for Tong Yao. Then Kim Yang asked Tong Yao, "Is it true that every time you think of Cheng Ji, your face turns red and your heart beats faster?" Tong Yao didn't know what to say. Suddenly, the cat knocked over a vase, causing Lu Sicheng to rush into the room worried. He thought Tong Yao had fallen. The two looked at each other awkwardly. Knowing she was all right, he quickly left. Unbeknownst to them, Lao Mayo and the chubby boy were waiting outside, wide-eyed with shock, silently understanding the relationship between their captain and the new teammate. Back in his room, Lu Sicheng texted Tong Yao teasingly, reminding her to drink her medicine to cure her craziness. The next morning, Tong Yao started paying more attention to Lu Sicheng. She remembered her best friend's words and wondered if she really liked him. Seeing a cat hair on his head, she went over to remove it. Lu Sicheng watched Tong Yao blow away the cat hair, and he felt strange emotions towards her. Just then, her teammates arrived. They all went to the practice room. Lu Yu saw his chance and went over to compete with Tong Yao to see who deserved the main spot and who should be the reserve player. These two idiots even competed to see who could exercise more intensely, with the winner being declared the victor. They were running on the treadmill like they were in a race. After the team returned home, the manager brought them new uniforms. Tong Yao took her things upstairs, putting everything in her bag except for the padded bra. Suddenly, she remembered her best friend's words, "Be seductive in everything you do." She shyly put the padded bra back. The professional tournament was about to start, so ZGDX had to train harder and develop strategies to deal with any unexpected situations. The main player roster for ZGDX hadn't been announced yet. To promote the tournament, all teams would be taking group photos, and today was ZGDX's turn. They were shooting for the national championship, so they needed to look their best, with everyone getting their makeup done. While they waited for Tong Yao, the other members took individual and pair photos first. It was time for the group photo, but Tong Yao wasn't there yet. The manager told Lu Sicheng to go find her. At that moment, the makeup artist had just finished Tong Yao's makeup and told her to go change. Lu Sicheng didn't know, so he barged in and found Tong Yao changing clothes. They made eye contact, and Lu Sicheng awkwardly closed the door and went outside. He needed a candy to calm down before standing guard in front of the door, preventing anyone from entering. Finally, Tong Yao came out and hesitantly asked if he had seen anything. Lu Sicheng couldn't lie, so he admitted he had seen everything but apologized sincerely. It was the first time she heard him apologize, and Tong Yao finally forgave him. Everyone watched as she posed for her solo photos. Lu Yu was forced to take a couple photo with Tong Yao, as they were the youngest in the team. Next, it was Lu Sicheng's turn. The manager made him take photos with Tong Yao, pushing the ship as hard as possible. Lu Yu didn't forget to take photos to show his mother. The ZGDX team photos were released quickly and caused a stir online. Everyone was praising Tong Yao and Lu Sicheng for being a perfect couple. But they also posted photos of Tong Yao with Lu Yu on Weibo, splitting the fans into two groups, Team Jiao and Team Yu Jiao. This made their mother call Lu Yu to ask if he really liked the girl. That night, Kim Yang visited her best friend in a house full of boys. Finally, she had a friend to talk to, but the time was short. Lu Sicheng texted Tong Yao, urging her to come down and practice. Tong Yao only had time to say goodbye to her best friend before going downstairs. Standing on the stairs, she heard her teammates talking about the carrot-holding bunny account that Lu Sicheng created. It was the detail on Tong Yao's underwear, making her horrified and tripping down the stairs. After seeing Kim Yong off, Tong Yao immediately found Lu Sicheng to talk. She scolded him for being a pervert for creating that name, but he refused to delete it. Lu Sicheng suddenly pushed Tong Yao against the table and whispered in her ear, "I have good taste, so I wouldn't be a pervert with you." That night, she had a strange dream. She saw herself transformed into a carrot, and suddenly, a white rabbit appeared and chased her, scaring Tong Yao into running away. It chased her and kept pushing her, even pushing her into her. When the rabbit raised its head, it was Lu Sicheng, making Tong Yao wake up in terror. The scene shifted to training for the upcoming national championship. They would have a practice match against the IQ team, and Tong Yao would be participating in this practice match first. From now until the official match began, Tong Yao and Lu Yu would compete to see who improved more, and the winner would play the main spot. The other team sent a message saying they were ready, so everyone quickly took their seats for battle. The match began. Tong Yao listened to the captain's advice not to rush, and initially, they all cooperated well, following Lu Sicheng's commands. But then, they realized the opponent unexpectedly understood Lu Sicheng's moves and took 2 of his lives. It was clear that they couldn't underestimate their opponent. They even understood the playstyles of the Love Fox and 100 Ghost Lady. In the end, ZGDX won the battle, but Lu Sicheng realized that the opposing team had the Pope. Everyone was surprised to hear this name. The Pope had returned and was playing for the EQ team. Lao Mayo explained to Tong Yao, "The Pope is the one who can rival Lu Sicheng." The 2 of them were like light and shadow. The chubby boy also mentioned that when Lu Sicheng first entered the professional gaming world, he played for the Korean team as a substitute for the Pope. Because their styles of play were so similar, people in the industry said that Lu Sicheng was the Pope's shadow. That was why Lu Sicheng was so uncomfortable inside, so he worked hard to prove himself and successfully relegated the Pope to the bench for 2 consecutive years. Online, the news of the Pope's return to China exploded. Everyone said that the Pope came back because of Lu Sicheng. They must have a decisive battle to see who was stronger. At this moment, Lu Sicheng was standing alone, lost in thought, recalling the first time he stepped into the world of professional gaming, signing a contract with Tat. He and the Pope practiced day and night without rest. They were comrades in arms. In the official match, Tat won the first round. Lu Sicheng also went up to celebrate with everyone. In the second round, the Pope's wrist started to hurt, so the team's performance wasn't very good. While they were taking a break, the Pope proactively told the coach to let Lu Sicheng try out his position. This was the first time the male lead had played the main spot. He didn't disappoint everyone's expectations. He performed exceptionally well, and their team won. In the following matches, the Pope would play 1 match, and then let Lu Sicheng play. In the next match, they were a pair of close comrades who understood each other, taking turns throughout the match to secure a victory for their team. They held the Cup of Glory together. Because of the captain's closeness to Lu Sicheng, it made a Tai, who was petty and envious, feel jealous. At the peak of his career, Lu Sicheng expressed his desire to return to China. The Pope didn't stop him but scheduled a match with the male lead to settle the score. Before leaving, he handed Lu Sicheng a Rubik's Cube and told him to wait for him to get it back. This time, he returned to China to do just that. Lu Sicheng received a call from the other team, saying that they had gone shopping and lost the Pope. The male lead immediately put on his jacket and ran to the shopping mall to find him. He found the Pope on the 4th floor, folding a stuffed bear. It must have been telepathy. They didn't need to say anything. Lu Sicheng went straight to play with the Pope and then talked about the upcoming tournament, saying they needed to give it their all and settle the score. At this moment, back at home, the manager told Tong Yao to bring an umbrella to the shopping mall nearby to give to Lu Sicheng because it was raining and he might get sick. When she arrived at the shopping mall, she tried to call Lu Sicheng but couldn't reach him. Fortunately, she met the other team's translator, who led her to Lu Sicheng. The Pope gave a big plush bear to the assistant, and Lu Sicheng also wore the stuffed bear he won on his neck. Tong Yao brought 2 umbrellas, so they each had one. Seeing that she was cold, the male lead took off his coat and gave it to her. When they got back, it had stopped raining. Before they went their separate ways, Lu Sicheng gave the Rubik's Cube back to the Pope, saying, "See you on the competition stage." The next day was the team selection lottery. Jian Yan looked unhappily at Tong Yao, who was with another guy. Guy Jai confidently told his friends that the meek for today was his girlfriend. The mech invited the previous year's champion to the main box, which was the captain of the CK team. Jian Yang drew for Group B. Next, the ZGDX captain drew and got Group A. Next was the Hong Tian team, and finally, the Ekibi team. Jian Yang pretended to hug his wife before drawing, and he also drew Group B. The lottery results were in. Back at the headquarters, the manager showed everyone the progress chart of Lu Yu and Tong Yao. They were both on par, but Tong Yao was slightly ahead, so she would be the one to start the tournament, while Lu Yu would be a reserve player for her. Everyone cheered her on, telling her to do her best. That night, Tong Yao sat down and studied the opposing team's play style. The fans also cheered her on, which gave her even more fighting spirit. Very quickly, the competition venue was ready, and the fans were already there early, checking their tickets to enter. Her parents were also watching live on TV. This time, it was CK against ZGDX. Tong Yao was stepping onto a big stage for the first time, and she was a little nervous. Lu Sicheng gently placed his hand on her head to comfort her. They stepped out onto the main stage together. The lights and the cheers of the crowd overwhelmed Tong Yao. After a round of introductions, the mix started the match. CK banned Jade Sprout, Tong Yao's best character. ZGDX also banned characters that the opposing team was good at. Lu Sicheng chose Love Fox. Ming Shen objected, because Love Fox became weaker as the game went on, but Lu Sicheng chose it because he wanted to finish quickly and go home to sleep, as he had a headache. The official match began. ZGDX attacked first, causing CK to become discouraged. Jian Yang went to the mid lane to fight Tong Yao one-on-one. Tong Yao fought against the one who taught her how to play. She was not in the least bit inferior. Lao Ka came to save Tong Yao, and the two of them combined to defeat Jian Yang. After he respawned, Jian Yang went to the top lane and cooperated with his teammates to defeat Lao Mayo. Tong Yao was not to be outdone, either. She launched a surprise attack with Lu Sicheng and completely defeated CK's bottom lane. Her parents at home didn't understand what was happening, but they could tell their daughter was playing quite well, judging from what the mic was saying. Lu Sicheng commanded quickly and efficiently. He gathered everyone in the mid lane, full of turrets, and ZGDX's minions pushed forward, aiming at their base and blowing it up. The first round of the inaugural match was won by ZGDX. The audience erupted in cheers, standing up and shouting. Back in the resting room, the coach asked Jian Yang why he wasn't focused and kept giving the opponent a break. He couldn't answer and could only apologize helplessly. On ZGDX's side, Lu Sicheng was so tired that he fell asleep. Tong Yao touched his forehead and realized he had a fever. It must have been from getting caught in the rain when he came back from the supermarket. The entire team was extremely worried. However, the second round began quickly. Looking at Lu Sicheng's gameplay, the commentator realized that ZGDX's Battle Chicken wasn't in good shape at all. On the contrary, the CK members were cooperating very well. CK had the advantage and was letting loose. Tong Yao disobeyed orders and charged in alone. Unexpectedly, she took down Butterfly, which shocked everyone. The team immediately went to attack together, and CK was quickly wiped out. Now, everyone on the team was listening to Tong Yao's commands. She was born with leadership in her blood. They all attacked together, and ZGDX quickly destroyed the opposing team's turrets and minions. In the second round, ZGDX once again spectacularly secured victory. Tong Yao's parents at home were amazed. Tong Yao was amazing today. The two MCs, who were initially teasing her, began to praise Tong Yao. Even Lao Ka, who initially rejected her, praised her. ZGDX shook hands with CK before the end of the match. Jian Yang deliberately held Tong Yao's hand a little longer. "You've grown stronger." Of course, when they left the main stage, Tong Yao and Lu Sicheng were immediately surrounded by reporters asking questions. Tong Yao was still very reserved because this was her first interview, so Lu Sicheng answered for her. He didn't even get to finish complimenting her on her performance before they went back to the resting room. Lu Sicheng was tired and went home first. The manager told Tong Yao to change and go to the costume festival, but she was having stomach problems, so she declined. Manager Shui called the driver to come back and take Tong Yao home. As soon as she got in the car, the captain asked her what was wrong. Seeing that she was not feeling well, she deliberately said she wanted to go home to take care of Lu Sicheng. Knowing that Tong Yao wasn't that kind, he asked her the real reason, and she finally admitted that she was on her period. As soon as they got home, news broke online that Jian Yang had held Tong Yao's hand a little longer. Then, Tong Yao received a message from the manager, asking her to give Lu Sicheng his medicine, because he was lazy and wouldn't take it if no one forced him. Tong Yao was hesitant, but she was worried that if the captain got sick, There would be no one to control Lu Yu, so she reluctantly went downstairs, got the medicine, and went upstairs to give it to him. Lu Sicheng wanted to sleep, but Tong Yao forced him to wake up and take his medicine. Girls on their periods are truly scary. Even a giant iceberg like Lu Sicheng was forced to submit. After taking his medicine, he was also forced to eat. Lu Sicheng just wanted to die. Since the porridge shop near their house was closed, Tong Yao decided to cook porridge for him. Tong Yao carried her aching stomach downstairs to cook porridge. Sometimes the pain was too intense, and she had to sit down. Lu Sicheng couldn't stand seeing her like this, so he went downstairs to help. After he finished cooking the porridge, he put his hand on Tong Yao's head and told her to message him when the porridge was ready. Unexpectedly, he knew that girls on their periods are sensitive to water. Tong Yao was curious and asked if he had a girlfriend. She thought someone with experience taking care of their girlfriends would know this. But Lu Sicheng said he had never had a girlfriend. It was because his mother would always tell her son to do this every month that he developed this habit. Lu Sicheng also said he wouldn't date just anyone. He only likes people who play games better than him. A while later, he went downstairs and unexpectedly put his hand on Tong Yao's stomach, making her freeze. Then he went upstairs to get a hot water bag, filled it carefully, and gave it to her to apply to her stomach. The porridge was ready, and they sat down to eat together. To thank him for taking care of her, Tong Yao decided to take care of Lu Sicheng. She pushed him upstairs. The next morning, the teammates came back from their outing. The chubby boy went upstairs to find someone, then ran downstairs in a panic, urging everyone to come up and see the unbelievable sight. They all ran to Lu Sicheng's room. Lu Yu peeked his head inside first. The scene made him widen his eyes in embarrassment, so he turned and left. Inside, Tong Yao and Lu Sicheng were sleeping together without realizing it. They woke up and made eye contact, awkwardly. Then they heard someone outside. Tong Yao quickly hid under the blanket while Lu Sicheng opened the door. He told his teammates to be quiet and let her sleep. Because Tong Yao's bed was dirty, she came over to sleep in his bed. Ming Shen didn't believe him. Why did she have to sleep in the same bed when there were so many empty beds? Lu Yu also didn't miss the chance to tease his brother. "You're doing pretty well. You're usually so quiet, but now you're luring a girl into bed." The chubby boy even wanted to call the police. They only calmed down when Lu Sicheng promised to wake her up properly. The male lead went back inside and saw Tong Yao huddled under the blanket on the floor. He lifted the blanket, and Tong Yao shyly apologized. She explained that she was cold last night, so she climbed into bed without realizing it. Lu Sicheng wanted to check if her feet were dirty, but Tong Yao immediately felt embarrassed and started grabbing the blanket with him. She said she would take it back to her room to check and wash it if it was dirty. But Lu Sicheng was just teasing her, and they kept grabbing the blanket back and forth. Suddenly, the two of them found themselves in an awkward position, staring into each other's eyes shyly, when the chubby boy walked in again. He witnessed this scene and felt awkward for them. Tong Yao, feeling embarrassed, quickly left. That night, Lu Sicheng couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Tong Yao's appearance. Meanwhile, Tong Yao couldn't stop thinking about him. The next morning, the other teammates were already awake and live streaming. Tong Yao realized she had to live stream for 30 hours to meet the requirements, so she immediately turned on her computer. Jian Yang received a notification and immediately went to watch his ex-girlfriend's live stream. He was smiling to himself, and his teammates caught him. On Tong Yao's side, a Tai was her opponent, so Lu Sicheng sat beside her, telling her how to play. At first, it went smoothly, but then he started talking to her more and more. "Why do you keep running away from a Tai? I said there is no a Tai." Tong Yao was angry for being tricked. Lu Sicheng wouldn't stop talking. "I still remember how you were shaking on the bed that day." This made the other teammates widen their eyes in shock. Jian Yang watched the live stream and felt incredibly uncomfortable when he heard this. The news of Cheng Jiao actually sleeping together in the same bed reached the fans. Lu Sicheng's love story was so captivating that he ran to the ZGDX headquarters late at night. He borrowed the security guard's phone to call Tong Yao and asked her to meet him. Tong Yao let Lu Yu play in her spot and went downstairs to meet her ex-boyfriend. Gai Jai's team was next to the ZGDX headquarters, so the security guard let him in. He could run over and use his girlfriend's phone to call Tong Yao. Kim Yang reminded her foolish friend not to get back together with her ex-boyfriend. "Wait, aren't you dating someone? Your ex-boyfriend?" At this moment, Jian Yang also ran over. As soon as Tong Yao got close, he hugged her tightly. Jian Yang was drunk. He asked his ex-girlfriend if she really knew Lu Sicheng. Tong Yao denied it, saying she had already explained everything on livestream. She also reminded him that their relationship was over. Kim Young realized that her ex-boyfriend was bothering her precious friend, so she immediately told Lu Sicheng that they were about to kiss, which scared him. He immediately stopped gaming and ran downstairs to check. Jian Yang was begging Tong Yao for a chance. He said they should start over. But Tong Yao didn't really resent him anymore for what happened in the past. She simply didn't have any feelings for him, so she didn't want to get back together. He promised that if he won the cup this year, he would propose to Tong Yao. But at this moment, Lu Sicheng appeared. He borrowed money from Tong Yao to buy candy, and then stood there, telling Jian Yang that the cup this year would be his, so he shouldn't even dream about it. He left, with his pride hurting. So Jian Yang continued to talk to his ex-girlfriend. He asked if they wouldn't have lost each other if he hadn't gone to compete professionally. Jian Yang, from the very beginning, we weren't compatible. You have your dreams, and I have my own goals. We can't be side by side. Now we can only be friends. Finally, Tong Yao unblocked Jian Yang. He knew he couldn't force or hold her back anymore, so he finally accepted being friends. Before leaving, he begged to hug Tong Yao one last time, and she agreed. It was heartbreaking that they had once loved each other, but now were just friends. The female lead saw him off to his car, walking with him for a bit. Jian Yang still looked back at her. Thinking back, they had been neighbors, and from the moment they first greeted each other, the two children liked each other. They grew up and fell deeply in love, but their goals at the time were too different, so they lost each other. Now they no longer love each other, so it's time to let go. Inside, Lu Sicheng was waiting for her to come back. As soon as they saw each other, he asked her urgently, "You're making up already. Why are you hugging?" Tong Yao said that it was just a last hug, confirming that they were just friends. Lu Sicheng finally let it go and went inside. Back in her room, Tong Yao immediately called her best friend to talk about Lu Sicheng's behavior. Kim Young said, "He likes her, of course. Only a fool like you wouldn't realize it." Because of this, when Tong Yao slept, she dreamt about her wedding with Lu Sicheng. She was just about to shout at him when she woke up in fear. She had made up her mind not to fall in love with gamers anymore. She quickly brushed her teeth and washed her face, then turned on her computer and continued to research her opponents. The next morning, the manager and Ming Shen saw her notebook and praised her for being diligent. They told the other teammates to learn from her. Ming Shen advised her not to spend too much time researching Kilg, and to focus on Ikipi as they had the Pope now. Realizing this, she immediately opened Ikip's training video to watch. Then Lu Sicheng came over. He was not as polite as the other two, and he directly snatched Tong Yao's notebook. He scolded her for watching small, random matches and drawing conclusions from them. But then he thoughtfully brought her some snacks to eat. Then everyone started to head out for battle. The second round was against Kilg. On the screen was the captain, Guang, who was the jungler in the team. He confidently and loudly proclaimed that he would defeat ZGDX. He was so arrogant, even before the battle. On the ZGDX side, Ming Shen reminded everyone of their strategy, which was to focus on attacking the opponent's jungler. On the big screen, the official match began. The manager and Ming Shen had complete faith in Tong Yao's strategy, because she had thoroughly researched the opponent's playstyle. The commentator was confused. He didn't know what the strategy was, but Lao Ka and Tong Yao both hid in the bushes, not attacking any small monsters to gain resources. Then the opponent, Guang, decided to steal the other team's jungle. It turned out that Tong Yao and Lao Ka were waiting for the opponent's jungler to arrive, and then they charged in to attack. 2 against 1, they either crippled or drained his health. Guang was killed, and he turned to blame his teammates on the bottom lane for not warning him. Tong Yao wasn't there anymore, and his teammates thought she had retreated. Lu Sicheng, of course, was the one who had gone into the jungle. Lao Ka had to praise Tong Yao. The things she wrote in this notebook are truly useful. The commentator also realized that ZGDX had completely understood their opponent's strategy, and it was only a matter of time before they won. Kilg was in disarray, becoming discouraged. They won the first round, and then went on to win the second round, brilliantly securing a spot in the finals and leading Group A in terms of points. Everyone on the team was excited and proud. After the match, fans criticized Kilg's captain, Guang, for being incompetent, making him hide behind the stairs and cry. Tong Yao gently went over to comfort him. He was even younger than her and had already made it to this round, so he had incredible potential for the future. But right now, the entire world seemed to have collapsed for Guang. He was very young, so he couldn't handle this pressure. I just want to say, there really was no other way. We could only farm for a while and wait for a team fight. We couldn't attack. If we had been prepared next time, we would have done better. But the extreme fans posted many abusive messages, leaving Guang speechless. Tong Yao could understand his desire to participate in the finals and his overwhelming disappointment. She sat down beside him and talked to him. After all, it's good to have someone to talk to and pour your heart out. Many times, Tong Yao had thought she was incredibly skilled, but when she lost to a tie, she felt like she had fallen into a bottomless abyss. However, failure was a valuable lesson and experience for the future. What we need to do is stop being weak and play better than yesterday. That was how Tong Yao overcame her mental obstacles. Hearing these words, Guang's mood improved a little. As they went outside, they met Lu Sicheng. He had been standing there listening the whole time. Lu Sicheng scolded Tong Yao for not answering her phone, making everyone wait. Seeing his angry attitude, Guang knew what to do and excused himself. After the boy left, Lu Sicheng started to express his true thoughts. He said, "Are you trying to win over people? The boy's eyes clearly show that he's been tamed by you. You played 2 matches, and both captains are on your side. What's the meaning of this?" Lu Sicheng was definitely jealous. The two of them got in the car and went back to join the rest. On the way, Tong Yao thought back to the advice she gave to Guang, and she suddenly realized that she herself needed to overcome her mental darkness. So she went to Lu Sicheng and asked him to arrange a match for her against a tie again, which shocked everyone in the car. Lu Sicheng agreed, but the manager refused. Ming Shen was also worried because they had 2 more tournaments. What if Tong Yao's mood dropped if she lost? But Tong Yao was determined, so Lu Sicheng texted and scheduled the match for her. They quickly replied that they would arrange the match tomorrow. Everyone cheered Tong Yao on. Go get him! She also seriously studied the notes she had made about Tat. Before the match started, Tong Yao needed to use the bathroom, but Lu Sicheng didn't let her because the match was about to start. She said she was okay, but her heart was racing so much that she couldn't see the mouse. Lu Sicheng had to put his hand on hers and slowly move the mouse so she could see it was still there. Lu Sicheng comforted her, telling her not to be so tense. Tong Yao followed his advice, closed her eyes, and took a deep breath. The match began. This time, ZGDX got to choose the character, but Tong Yao still decided to choose Red Spider Lily, which had caused her to lose before. She didn't want to depend on Jade Sprout like before. But when she was in the match with a tie, she still didn't dare to leave the turret. Lu Sicheng reminded her to stop being scared, but when the enemy approached, she ran away again. Tong Yao was so strong, but now she just wanted her teammates to come and protect her. When the enemy jungler, who was Tong Yao's father, appeared, she ran away again. The chubby boy was killed, so she retreated, but Lu Sicheng stopped her. He sent Lao Mayo to support her, but Lao Mayo was quickly killed by the opponent. Unexpectedly, Lu Sicheng was also killed. Tong Yao just wanted to retreat back to their base. Everyone responded, but the male lead wanted her to push the turret directly, one-on-one against a tie. Win or lose, it was now or never. Looking into his trusting eyes, Tong Yao decided to take a gamble. She dodged one of a tie's attacks, but then got hit by the second one. She kept launching attacks, but they didn't hit the opponent. She was overwhelmed and had to retreat. A tie launched a final attack, sending Tong Yao flying into the air. Everyone thought she had lost, and they started comforting her. It's okay to be sad, but don't be too sad. But unexpectedly, Tong Yao turned the tables in the last few minutes. She was unwilling to let herself lose so easily. Her character, Evil Spirit, exploded with power, fiercely fighting back against the opponent who surrounded her. The love fox within the triangle of lanterns and stars ran past, and the flames of hatred erupted, taking down her opponent. In the end, she destroyed the turret and secured victory. This time, everyone was incredibly surprised by this crazy comeback. Tong Yao had truly defeated the evil spirit, a tie. She was so moved that she burst into tears. Her hand was still on the mouse, as if she couldn't believe it. The older brothers surrounded the little sister and told her how strong she was. To celebrate, she had won against herself and against her opponent. They all went out to celebrate in the car. Tong Yao saw Lu Sicheng's interview from the day before. He praised her, saying she was very good, and even smiled. It was unbelievable. But Lu Sicheng said that it was all written by the reporter, a script. But the manager quickly revealed the truth. Those were his true feelings. He likes you, but he's shy. Tong Yao was so embarrassed that she hid Lu Sicheng's phone. Unexpectedly, the car hit a pothole and jolted, causing her to fall into his arms. Their hearts thumped for the nth time. The other team members' eyes widened, and Lu Yu quickly took out his phone to take a picture. Tong Yao immediately stood up, retrieved her phone, and quickly ran back to her seat. Lu Yu also sent the picture to his mother. Finally, they arrived at the dining area. The whole team grilled meat outdoors, and Mrs. Lu called her eldest son. Lu Yu told Tong Yao to answer the call because it was definitely for her. However, she thought it was Lu Sicheng's girlfriend, especially when his tone was so intimate on the phone. But she didn't know that Mrs. Lu was asking about her future daughter-in-law on the other end. Tong Yao couldn't help but go to the bathroom when she heard Lu Sicheng talking to his mother. She looked at herself in the mirror and told herself not to be jealous of his girlfriend. After coming out, she took the initiative to help everyone grill meat. Lu Sicheng tried to hang up, but his mother kept calling. Tong Yao was grilling meat inside and heard everyone talking about Lu Sicheng's mother wanting her son to get married soon. She realized it was his mother and brought the plate of meat out to everyone. After failing to call her eldest son, Mrs. Lu called her youngest son, Bao, and asked him to pass the phone to his brother. As soon as Lu Sicheng picked up the phone, his mother urged him to go on a blind date. However, he immediately refused. He was a straight man through and through, but only wanted to play games and win championships, not get married. Lu Sicheng hung up to let Lu Yu deal with this situation. His younger brother called his mother and told her not to cause trouble, but he quickly had to hang up too, because his mother said if he said another word, she would make both of them go on blind dates. Lu Yu told his brother that the blind date was with a young lady named Suola, who had just returned from studying abroad in the United States, was the same age as Lu Sicheng. The male lead secretly saw the obvious disappointment on Tong Yao's face, and then immediately called his mother to refuse the matchmaking. After a night of partying, the team continued to return to study tactics for the battle against FNC the next day. Tong Yao never underestimated her opponent. She continued to stay up late to study the opponent's tactics. She was also extremely serious in the training sessions, and she cooperated well with Lao Ka to win. Afterwards, the female lead sat at the strategy table with Ming Shen. They were having a lively discussion when Tong Yao noticed Lu Sicheng wanted to go somewhere. She couldn't help but ask him where he was going. Lu Sicheng obediently explained that his mother had made an appointment with the girl and forced him to go out of courtesy. The male lead didn't forget to bring slippers for Tong Yao to wear because her bare feet would be cold and easy to get a stomachache. The male lead followed the address his mother sent to the meeting point with Suola. She looked exactly like a young lady from a wealthy family. Suola fell for him as soon as she saw him. Lu Sicheng's goal was to take her home, not go on a blind date. However, Suola went to the bathroom for a little while to touch up her makeup so she would look even more beautiful. She didn't forget to talk to her mother and express that the person was even more handsome in real life than in pictures. Afterwards, she secretly looked up information about him when she learned that he was very famous in China, and her satisfaction with him increased twofold. Outside, Lu Sicheng had to report his situation to Tong Yao. This way of texting was no different from a girlfriend asking where her boyfriend was going to play with who. Suole came out but only gave him a courteous glance, then called for service to pay for the water. This small action earned her more points in his eyes. Lu Sicheng took Suola home, but on the way, he remembered the restaurant that Tong Yao suggested, so he asked Suola if she wanted to eat there. She said she wasn't used to eating greasy food on the street, but the male lead didn't care and kept going forward. He bought a portion to take home and said it was for the rabbit. When the food was delivered, it started to rain heavily, but Lu Sicheng didn't care and still ran to get the car. The girls next to him felt jealous because they thought it was his girlfriend. When Suola got in the car, she took the initiative to ask Lu Sicheng to go out with her, but he frankly refused, saying they weren't compatible. This caused Suole to be disappointed. At home, Tong Yao was lost in a daze, waiting endlessly for Lu Sicheng to return. Her teammates noticed her mood and smiled knowingly. Tong Yao went up to her room and immediately called her best friend to confide in her. The blind date girl was 10 times more beautiful than her, a tall, rich girl who studied abroad in America, but in her best friend's eyes, Tong Yao was the most beautiful. Her friend encouraged her to be confident, saying maybe Lu Sicheng likes short girls. Hearing the sound of the door opening downstairs, Tong Yao happily ran down. Lu Sicheng had returned and even brought her snacks. His younger brother had nothing to offer, so he had to fight with Tong Yao for the snacks. Soon, the National A-Level Championship was held. ZGDX played against FNC. Before the match, the organizers played a video of Dong Jiao telling her teammates that she had a stomachache and wanted to go to the bathroom, which made the audience laugh hysterically. Tong Yao just wanted to chew the organizers to pieces. Stepping onto the stage, Tong Yao could only cover her face in shame, and wished she could find a hole to crawl into. The match began. As soon as the match started, the jungler, Kun, didn't go to the jungle, but hid in the bushes in the mid lane and attacked Tong Yao, taking away 1/3 of her health. She had to run back to the tower quickly. It was clear he was targeting Tong Yao, but fortunately, Lao Ka arrived in time to help her, ensuring the safety of her great heavenly dog. Tong Yao immediately counterattacked. She wanted to take revenge on her opponent, but Lu Sicheng restrained her anger and reminded her not to go deep into the jungle. Sure enough, Kun leaped out from the bushes, costing Tong Yao a life. The jungler continued to target the mid laner. When Dong Jiao respawned, Kun targeted her again, causing her to die within 3 seconds of respawning. Kun didn't farm the jungle or need resources, he only targeted Tong Yao. The third time was the same, making her furious. She ignored Lu Sicheng's presence and didn't need to unleash her ultimate ability. She continued to chase down the enemy. What was going on? At this moment, ZGDX also managed to secure the Great Serpent, winning this match. However, Tong Yao was running around and dying the whole match, so she angrily went into the room. Unexpectedly, Kun from the opposing team also went into the ZGDX restroom. He directly walked over to Tong Yao and asked her to livestream with him, leaving the other teammates confused. Kun was excited to be paired up with Tong Yao by fans, which annoyed Lu Sicheng. He pressed down on Kun's camera, stopping the livestream. If you can't livestream, then give me your WeChat. After scanning Kun's code, he finally left. Before leaving, he even sent a heart emoji. The second round began. To avenge the audacity of flirting with his girl, Lu Sicheng beat Kun so he couldn't raise his head. Now it was Kun's turn to be annoyed as he was constantly being suppressed. As soon as he caught up to Tong Yao, Lu Sicheng took him down in one blow, causing the commentators and the audience to explode. ZGDX teammates continuously swept the battlefield, causing FNC to collapse. ZGDX won the qualifier with a score of 2-0. When they shook hands for a friendly exchange, Kun intentionally held Dong Jiao's hand for a little longer, then seemed to be lost in thought as he looked at her. Afterwards, Kun waited at ZGDX's car to ask for a free meal. After getting permission, he immediately ran to the car, looking around for Tong Yao's position. The female lead had just sat down when Kun happily turned to look at her and smiled. Lu Sicheng was truly jealous. He immediately asked the chubby one to swap seats with him for a while. Lu Yu got in the car and was confused. He's sitting there, where do I sit? As a result, the car started moving with Kun and Lu Yu sitting together. Lu Yu was uncomfortable because he was being inconvenienced. Kun happily used translation software to text Tong Yao because he was Korean and didn't know Chinese. The female lead was utterly helpless and could only hold her phone and ask for Lu Sicheng's help. Kun didn't know how to speak Chinese, so he could only smile at her. Lu Sicheng finally took action. He spoke Korean, saying Tong Yao was his and not to touch her. At the restaurant, while everyone was eating beef, Kun dragged Lu Sicheng outside for a talk. He thought Lu Sicheng was gay because he'd never seen him hang out with any girls before. However, now he was fighting with him for the girl. However, Lu Sicheng said no matter what, she would be his, so don't even think about it. Then, Kun lowered his head and pleaded with him, promising to treat her well. But Lu Sicheng said no is no. Kun clasped his hands and begged, but the male lead didn't show any mercy for his former teammate. If you keep talking, I'm going to punch you. Finally, the two went back inside. Kun was dejected and didn't even look at anyone, causing Dong Jiao to misunderstand that Lu Sicheng was bullying him. However, Kun immediately smiled again after Dong Jiao gave him a bite of her food. Before she could enjoy her laughter for long, Lu Sicheng used his chopsticks to snatch away the piece of meat. The next day, Jin Young invited Dong Jiao to visit her new apartment. As a wealthy woman, she had rented the apartment next to the 5-star villa, where their headquarters was located just to be close to her boyfriend. She wanted to invite Dong Jiao to live with her, but Dong Jiao felt she wasn't suitable for the lifestyle of the rich, so it was better to stay where she was. Later, she also played the recording Lu Sicheng had sent to Kun for Jin Young to translate. Hearing the content, "She's my person," Dong Jiao was stunned. At this moment, Lu Sicheng received a message from Suola. She said she had bought tickets to watch Lu Sicheng's team's match. Lu Sicheng went down and asked his younger brother why that girl knew his number. After a threat, Lu Yu didn't dare to speak nonsense anymore. He confessed that Mrs. Lu had forced him to add Suola's WeChat to Lu Sicheng's phone. Before this matter was resolved, Kun called. He said he would go to watch Lu Sicheng's match this weekend. If he saw that Lu Sicheng and Tong Yao weren't close, he would continue to pursue her. For love, Kun wasn't afraid of Lu Sicheng anymore. At this moment, Dong Jiao happened to return home. She asked Lu Sicheng why he had blocked his teammates' romantic luck. When discovered, Lu Sicheng was embarrassed but still maintained a cold face and left. Knowing that Lu Sicheng considered her his person, Tong Yao began to secretly pay attention to him everywhere. She even deliberately woke up early to make breakfast for him, using the excuse that her cat didn't like to eat it, so he was the one who benefited. Lu Sicheng didn't say much, but he accepted the cat's meal. He talked about how Kun would watch their team's match and would find out that what Lu Sicheng said was fake. At that time, Kun would relentlessly flirt with Dong Jiao. In Korea, in the Tat team, Lu Sicheng was Kun's senior, so he wasn't allowed to touch his person. That's why he used this method to prevent Kun from texting Tong Yao. After explaining clearly, Lu Sicheng finally started eating. He praised the fried eggs, making Tong Yao very happy. Soon, the next match took place. Miss Suola drove a luxury car to watch the game. She thoughtfully prepared a large bouquet of flowers to give to the flag bearer. Seeing this, the media rushed to take photos. Suola strode into the arena. She strategically chose a seat next to Kun. Tong Yao looked out and saw Kun by chance. She also pointed out Lu Sicheng's blind date to him. Seeing Kun staring at the female lead, Lu Sicheng gently placed his hand on her head, asserting his claim. Fans saw this and became a mess. Kun and Suola were stunned, with a hint of heartbreak. Lu Sicheng said if Tong Yao continued to flirt, he wouldn't hesitate to kiss her French style in front of him. Tong Yao said she wasn't flirting at all, then looked at the young lady and asked if this would affect her and him. Sicheng said clearly that he had refused, but she said she wouldn't give up, so he didn't know what to do. The official match began. At home, Jin Yang and her boyfriend were also watching the live broadcast. Seeing the camera angle aimed at the audience, they could guess that today's match would be extremely exciting. Lu Sicheng, the cold and charming blind date object, the petite Tong Yao, and Kun, the boy who secretly liked her. Returning to the match, in the first round, ZGDX won. Kun cheered Tong Yao's name. Suola brought flowers to give to Lu Sicheng. Tong Yao saw this and immediately held his hand, saying, "Quickly bend down close to me." Tong Yao picked up an eyelash from his eye, causing Lu Sicheng to smile. This was the female lead's way of marking her territory. Seeing the two smiling at each other, Suola was disappointed and dropped the bouquet. But in reality, everything was just Tong Yao's imagination. She only dared to walk ahead and let Lu Sicheng and Suola walk together. However, a while later, Lu Sicheng accepted the bouquet and took it back to the restroom. Lu Yu said it was from his future wife, making everyone shocked. The chubby one asked, "What about Tong Yao sleeping in the same bed with you?" Lao Ka even sang her a love ballad. Then, everyone joined in, forcing Tong Yao to yell at them to stop. At this moment, Kun appeared out of nowhere, ran over, and brought snacks to the female lead, smiling as he spoke. Lu Sicheng, filled with jealousy, chased him away. The second match quickly began. ZGDX quickly opened a full combat and won. ZGDX stood on the stage to say goodbye to the audience. As they left, the chubby one accidentally stepped on Tong Yao's shoe, causing her to fall, but Lu Sicheng quickly caught her, making the stadium explode. What was this? Too public. In front of thousands of spectators, the two embraced for a minute. Even the chubby one had to remind them to cool it down. Tong Yao wanted Lu Sicheng to put her down, but he directly carried her inside, making Jun and Suola, who were sitting below, either roll their eyes or become disappointed. The male lead carried the female lead in front of the reporters and then put her down before leaving. This was Tong Yao's first time doing an interview, so she was still a little nervous. But looking at the fans who loved her below, Tong Yao finally opened up and talked about her experience as ZGDX's first female gamer. At first, she couldn't adapt, but then everyone's enthusiasm made her more open-minded. There were countless times they fought side by side, trained together, and shared their joys and sorrows. She cherished this time. Thank you for everything. This was also why Lu Sicheng let her give the speech instead of the team captain. He wanted the audience to understand and love Tong Yao more. Afterwards, Tong Yao also explained the incident of her broken shoe, so the team captain had to carry her, and she denied all the dating rumors with Lu Sicheng on live television. She even promised that if Lu Sicheng liked her in the future, she would shout it out loud for everyone to know. After the competition ended, young master Lu Sicheng, with a kind heart, took the whole team to buy shoes. The chubby one picked a pair that suited the whole team's aesthetic. Everyone immediately started talking about their bad luck so that Lu Sicheng would buy them shoes. The saleswoman brought the smallest size for Tong Yao, saying, "You look great in this pair, it's a perfect match with Lu Sicheng." Tong Yao immediately wanted to change to a different pair, but Lu Sicheng stopped her. He chose this pair. The rumor about Lu Sicheng's secret girlfriend, along with photos of Suola, became a hot topic on Weibo. Before long, Suola had already gone there to find Lu Sicheng. She insisted on inviting Lu Sicheng to dinner, but he just said he was busy and left. Suola wanted to chase after him, but Lu Yu stopped her. He blamed her for intentionally giving flowers to create a scandal for Lu Sicheng. But Suola arrogantly thought she was better than those female fans and was worthy of Lu Sicheng. Seeing how arrogant she was, Lu Yu deleted her as a friend and warned her to delete him too. "Don't bother my brother anymore." Then he ran after his teammates. Back at ZGDX headquarters, Dong Jiao listened to her best friend say it wasn't good to receive shoes from others, and she should give the person some money to ward off evil. So she gave Lu Sicheng a coin from her purse. He called her old-fashioned, but when Tong Yao asked for it back, he stuffed it into his piggy bank. Lu Sicheng went live on stream and explained to the fans that the girl was just someone his family forced him to go on a blind date with, but he refused. He also said he had deleted her WeChat a long time ago. Then he invited Tong Yao to solo on the stream. His teammates excitedly gathered around to cheer them on. Whoever loses would have to treat the entire team to crayfish. This put Tong Yao on edge. She had to win. For peace of mind while playing, Lu Sicheng even turned off the comments on the screen so fans couldn't ask him any questions. The rules of the solo match were, lose 3 lives or get your tower pushed, and you lose. You also couldn't use your signature spirit to fight. The match began. Lu Sicheng played aggressively, refusing to yield. He pushed her to the edge of the cliff, but Tong Yao punched him to escape, but ultimately couldn't escape the hand of death. "It's okay, I still have 2 lives." In the second round, Tong Yao won. In the third round, they both unleashed all their skills, but Tong Yao still lost. "It's okay, it's a 2-2 tie, we still have a chance in the next round." The brothers next to them kept mentioning crayfish, causing Tong Yao to start worrying about her wallet. The match was intense. The teammates cheered for their little sister, but it seemed like it wouldn't be easy to beat Lu Sicheng. Finally, Tong Yao exploded with power, continuously releasing fireballs, causing Lu Sicheng to be thrown into the air. Finally, she threw him into the air and then crushed him. Then, she strangled him, ending the battle of the god of war, Lu Sicheng. "I won. The crayfish is on Lu Sicheng." Just then, an unknown number called. It was Suola. She was well educated, but it was unknown how she could lose her morals for a man like this. She had clearly blocked him, but she still used a different number to call and ask Lu Sicheng to have dinner. He finally agreed to go, just to end it once and for all. The other members went to the gym first because they wouldn't get their crayfish until late. Only the male and female leads were left. Dong Jiao wanted to talk, but Lu Sicheng didn't respond. Looking at the screen, she realized he was listening to her playlist. Seeing this, the female lead whispered, "I don't want you to meet her," causing Lu Sicheng to flinch. He had heard this because he was wearing headphones for fun. She went upstairs to confide in her best friend, Jin Yang, about the solo match. Jin Yang immediately concluded that Lu Sicheng was letting his friend win because he was so stupid that he couldn't possibly win. However, Dong Jiao, who was directly in the match, knew that at the time, Lu Sicheng wanted to push her to her death and win, and it was already a kindness to give her any mercy. Jin Yang also said that in this situation, as a girl, no matter how much you liked someone, you couldn't rush in and take the initiative. You had to let the man take action. If he remained slow and didn't make any moves, then Tong Yao was definitely delusional. Hearing this, Tong Yao hung up and went downstairs to see if Lu Sicheng had left. But to her surprise, he was still lying on the couch. "Didn't you say you were going? Isn't there someone who doesn't want me to go?" "I heard everything." "Did you go deaf?" "I was just joking." Just when she was feeling awkward, the manager came to take the cat out to eat. Taking this opportunity, Tong Yao also hesitated. The manager asked Lu Sicheng, "Don't you feel anything about letting the girl wait for you like this?" But he said, "I've changed the meeting place to the front gate of the headquarters. It saves trouble from having to drive out." Lu Sicheng saw that it was almost time, so he went out and encountered the neighbors who were teasing him about the solo match. He had clearly intentionally lost and let the flag bearer win, but Lu Sicheng said, "I didn't give in at all. Tong Yao beat me. Now she wants to replace me and take over the whole team, so I didn't give in to her at all." Then, Lu Sicheng went out to talk to Xiao La. The young lady acted hurt because she didn't know she was overdoing it at the competition. As a result, Lu Sicheng's fans found her WeChat and scolded her for being shameless. Lu Sicheng apologized, but Xiao La said it wasn't his fault, but his fans. She blamed everything on his fans, which made Lu Sicheng uncomfortable. She continued to express her willingness to learn and understand the gaming industry so she could progress further with him. But Lu Sicheng said, "That will never happen. If it were the girl I chose, I wouldn't need to learn anything about games. I would protect her well. But it's not Xiao La. We're not compatible." "What's incompatible? Your family background, your looks, your intelligence, your height. What kind of girl do you like?" Lu Sicheng replied immediately, "She has to play games better than me." Saying this, he felt he had said enough and said goodbye before going inside. Everyone was starving. Tong Yao took this opportunity to run outside to see what Lu Sicheng was talking about for so long. She saw him go inside and said, "The chubby one is already hungry, so I came out to call you." Lu Sicheng immediately drove Tong Yao to buy food. The shopkeeper, while packaging the food, asked, "Is she your girlfriend?" Lu Sicheng said, "No, she's just a teammate." "Really? I saw the way she looked at you, like she's looking at her husband. If you don't like the girl, just say it straight, don't make her sad." Lu Sicheng didn't answer. He just turned to look at Tong Yao, then carried the things and went home. On the way to the car, Lu Sicheng's hands were a bit sore from playing games for a long time, so he put down the food and took a break. Tong Yao saw this and worried. She immediately picked up the food and took it for him. He wanted to take it back, but she had already run to the car. Lu Sicheng could only smile and watch as she put the food in the trunk. He patted Tong Yao's head and thanked her because this was the first time a girl had taken care of him. In the car, the two instinctively looked at each other. In this ambiguous atmosphere, the female lead wanted to tell him, "It seems like I..." But Lu Sicheng stopped her. He asked her if she wanted to play some music, preventing her from speaking again. He then said a suggestive sentence, "Don't rush." When they returned to the headquarters, everyone had a delicious crayfish meal. Tong Yao wondered why Lu Sicheng wasn't eating. Lu Yu explained to her. His brother was afraid of the smell on his hands. Hearing this, the female lead immediately gave Lu Sicheng the shrimp she had just peeled. The teammates were treated to free dog food. At this moment, the manager called Lu Sicheng to a meeting. He said there was a promotional event for the animation on Saturday. Mrs. Lu required her son's team to attend. There was no way to refuse, so the team, which had just finished competing, had to fly to the event location. There was a lively cosplay event going on there. When they arrived, fans rushed into the makeup room to ask the male and female leads for autographs. The number of fans for both of them was equal. Among them was a girl who worked there. She took advantage of this to keep running back and forth asking for autographs. Clearly, she was trying to show off to her friends, so Tong Yao had to call the manager to politely ask her to leave. Immediately, someone posted an article criticizing Tong Yao for being arrogant. The girl in the blue dress also appeared and handed them a script. She instructed the team members to carry the models from the exhibition from left to right on the stage. The model from the exhibition who first hit the drum would win. The team members immediately refused, making the blue-dressed woman unhappy. The models also felt uncomfortable. Dong Jiao spoke up. "Gamers' hands are very sore. We can't play like this." The arrogant woman in the blue dress refused to change the game. She started sitting in a chair with her legs crossed, mocking. What kind of team can't even carry a few girls? She also threatened to post a post on Weibo accusing them of being arrogant, making Lao Ka want to rush over and punch her a few times. Tong Yao angrily pushed her over. Lu Sicheng and his teammates had to stop her. The woman in blue rushed towards Tong Yao to hit her, but Lu Sicheng grabbed her wrist. The manager also rushed over to mediate. Lu Sicheng asked Tong Yao to stay in the room, while he and the others went out, leaving her feeling sad and shedding tears. Unexpectedly, he agreed to let his teammates carry the models to play that pointless game. He stayed downstairs and filmed the scene of their sore wrists. He had predicted that the blue-dressed manager would livestream, crying and playing the victim to gain sympathy from everyone and slander ZGDX. News of Tong Yao refusing to participate in the activity and even hitting someone exploded on the internet, with everyone criticizing her. ZGDX's main management office was once again in chaos as they cleaned up the mess. The manager had to take Tong Yao to meet the boss, lie, and apologize. But unexpectedly, the chairman, Mrs. Liu, was also there. Tong Yao didn't expect that the young woman in front of her was Liu Sicheng's mother. For causing this commotion, the manager was deducted 2 months of salary and bonus. As for Tong Yao, before she could hear her punishment, Liu Sicheng burst into the room. He said he had his own way of dealing with this and asked the manager to contact the media company first. As for Tong Yao, she was still banned from competing for one match. Liu Sicheng told the manager to take Tong Yao out, while he sat down to talk with his mother. As soon as Tong Yao stepped outside, she was surrounded by reporters. It was difficult for her to get into the elevator. After finally getting to her car, she received a call from her mother questioning her about the fight. Her mother told her to be careful and pay attention to her health. Tong Yao reassured her and hung up the phone. Liu Sicheng then got into the car. He didn't say anything, and the car drove home. Tong Yao could only vent to her best friend. Kim Yang was furious on her behalf and even said that Tong Yao should have slapped the girl. Gai Jai brought Tong Yao fruit to calm her down. He checked his phone and saw that Tong Yao was suspended from the next match, fined 2 months' salary and bonus. However, a video was posted underneath the article showing Lao Mayo and Fatty carrying 2 models before hurting their hands. Seeing this clip, netizens immediately turned their attention towards Tong Yao, defending her and acknowledging that her attitude of opposing the team and protecting her teammates was right. The girl immediately returned home and asked who posted the video. However, they only just learned about this video. It was Liu Sicheng, but he refused to say anything and even told his teammates to remain silent. The manager and the rest of the team went to inform Liu Yu that he would be playing in Tong Yao's place. They had to practice ahead of time so that Liu Yu could catch up with the team. The girl watched the practice session from the side. From the time the incident happened, Liu Sicheng hadn't said a word to Tong Yao. This made her feel both sad and disappointed. Ming Shen noticed her mood and comforted her. Liu Sicheng was the team captain and had the responsibility to protect everyone, but he couldn't shoulder everything. Tong Yao understood this, and she understood the heavy responsibility Liu Sicheng had to bear. Returning to training, Liu Yu fought very well, replacing Tong Yao's position and winning the game for the whole team. It was noon, and everyone was hungry, so they decided to go out to eat. Fatty asked Tong Yao why she wasn't going, but she declined, saying she wasn't hungry and had to live stream at home to complete her required hours. At the restaurant, everyone watched Tong Yao's live stream while they ate. They praised her for being quiet and focused on the game. Liu Sicheng asked the waiter to make him a bowl of clam porridge to take home. Clearly, he was worried about Tong Yao's stomach. Just when they were praising Tong Yao for being quiet and not getting into any trouble, she couldn't hold it in at home and started arguing with her fans. For every word of criticism, she fired back with 2. She was determined not to be bullied. But as soon as she heard the door open, she knew it was Liu Sicheng, and immediately changed her attitude, taking all the blame onto herself. Liu Sicheng put the food on the table without saying a word. The team captain had just left, and she was already bad-mouthing him. She had been sulking like a child since then. When her best friend sent her a message reminding her that Liu Sicheng had gone into her live stream 5 minutes ago, she quickly switched to a docile mode, promising to write a self-criticism and then quickly turned off the live stream. She took the clam porridge and went to the swing, sitting there with her best friend, eating and complaining about her life. Kim Yan comforted her, saying that Liu Sicheng would not be cold to Tong Yao forever. He still cared about her. Just think about it. He even brought clam porridge back for her to eat. The 6 other teammates returned and immediately teased her, asking if she was so unlucky that the team captain had kicked her out of the house. Fatty even revealed to Tong Yao that Liu Sicheng cared about her so much that he even skipped meals and brought back the clam porridge for her because he was worried she would be hungry. Tong Yao was a little touched when she learned this. The next day was the 3rd game in Group A, with ZGDX facing Haiju. As soon as they entered the stadium, the camera focused on Liu Yu, the new player for ZGDX. Tong Yao was watching the live stream from her room. She was surprised that there were still fans shouting her name, proving that even if she didn't play, they would always support her. As soon as the game began, the opposing team banned Bian Hua and Daishin Gu, two Shikigami that Lu Yu was best at using. The game started, and Lu Yu played very steadily. Within seconds, he had secured the first kill against the opposing team. He then easily secured the second kill, but instead of listening to the others and going back to kill the boss, Shiju, he just went to farm. This caused Lao Ka to be killed by the opponent. Luckily, after regaining their composure, ZGDX supported their teammates and pushed the tower together to win the game. During the break, Lu Sicheng went to talk to Tong Yao alone. He set a timer on the table for her, 7 minutes to convince him to keep her on the team. He told her that he needed her honest answer, not the nonsense she had spewed in her livestream yesterday. One convincing answer that could persuade everyone. Lu Sicheng told Tong Yao that she had been labeled as a bully. If she didn't explain herself and sincerely apologize, no matter how good she became, no one would acknowledge her achievements. They would always bring up the past and crush her spirit. The male lead then mentioned her aggressive playstyle, how she was a specialist at driving enemies towards the tower to kill them. Lao Ka had developed a habit of playing to match her style, leading to the current situation where Lu Yu, replacing her, was out of sync with Lao Ka, resulting in Lao Ka's death. Lu Sicheng made Tong Yao acknowledge her own mistakes. He questioned her. Her teammates had tried to play to her habits, so her ban was a consequence for the entire team. Why was she so irresponsible towards them? Tong Yao realized this was a professional, collaborative game. It wasn't about personal heroism, sacrificing teammates to win alone. At this point, her throat tightened, and she couldn't continue. Lu Sicheng, having taken on the mantle of captain, saw no difference between men and women. Those who impacted the team would be eliminated. The time was running out, and Tong Yao still couldn't answer his question. As Lu Sicheng turned to leave, his hand was grabbed. "I don't know how to speak eloquently," she said. "I want to win every game with you. I don't want to be an obstacle for anyone. I just want to be your teammate, standing at the peak of glory where ZGDX stands." Finally, Lu Sicheng heard what he wanted. He knew she wanted to protect her teammates, but she also had to learn to protect herself. He patted her head and went back to the game. Tong Yao then asked him, "Are you very strong?" Lu Sicheng's gaze softened. "I do sometimes hesitate," he admitted. She asked, "The reason you've been indifferent towards me these past few days, is it because you're angry? Or is it because you're afraid of being soft-hearted?" After saying this, he went out. The second game began, and the ZGDX members remained strong, fearless, and without arrogance. Lu Yu was better at coordinating with his teammates. Finally, with a beautiful victory, ZGDX secured their position at the top of the leaderboard. Everyone went back to their rooms, and Tong Yao praised Lu Yu for playing well. When the whole team went out, they were met with reporters who continuously aimed their cameras at Tong Yao, asking her aggressive questions. Lu Sicheng couldn't stand it and used his legal expertise to dominate the reporters. Their words were clearly intended to insult and undermine others. If they were brought to court, they would certainly be punished. The reporters backed down, giving them a clear path. In the car, while reviewing Lu Yu's interview with reporters, Tong Yao was satisfied that he had said a few good things about her. They went to a restaurant and met Kun, who was eating with his teammates. Seeing Tong Yao, he quickly greeted her, and his expression clearly showed that he still liked her. Kun also introduced his teammate, Zerun. When they went into their own team's dining room, Tong Yao couldn't shake the feeling that she had met Zerun somewhere before. He was the live streamer from Sister Ninja's channel, right? Were they dating? Fatty was surprised she didn't know, but he quickly moved on to eat. Afterwards, everyone went home to rest. They stopped the car for Lu Sicheng to buy some things, so he got home later. He didn't know that Tong Yao's cat had eaten one of her precious fish. Tong Yao quickly put her toy fish into the tank to make up for it, but Xu Cheng appeared right behind her. She grabbed the fake fish, shouting, "Your fish has eaten until his tummy is full, and now he's sleeping. Let me clean up for you." Finally, under Lu Sicheng's intimidating gaze, Tong Yao had to confess the truth. Her cat had eaten his fish. Fatty tried to cover for her, saying that the fish had actually grown wings and flown away, but Lu Sicheng pointed directly at him, making him scurry away in a panic, leaving Tong Yao to face Lu Sicheng's intense scrutiny. Surprisingly, he only handed her a band-aid and left. Tong Yao escaped to her room and applied the band-aid to her sprained ankle when her best friend called, telling her that the team captain was live streaming, not playing games, and was instead browsing the internet looking for fish. Tong Yao immediately went online and saw that Lu Sicheng had bought a carnivorous plant to protect his fish tank, making her worry about her beloved Fatty. So, the next morning, Tong Yao called out for her cat but couldn't find him. She went searching for him, and when she went downstairs, she found him lying on Lu Sicheng. Seeing him sleeping, she kindly covered him with a blanket. Lu Sicheng, mistaking her for Fatty, hugged her tightly. Fatty went downstairs and saw this scene, his innocent eyes filled with fear. He quickly ran back to his room and slammed the door shut, texting Lu Sicheng, calling him a sly old fox for tricking the little girl. Tong Yao escaped Lu Sicheng's tight embrace, and he woke up in a panic, looking at her. Tong Yao blamed him for sleepwalking and mistaking her for the cat. However, Lu Sicheng refused to admit it. He opened his phone to see a barrage of messages from Fatty and called him to explain. It was Tuesday, and the whole team had the day off. Tong Yao offered to buy him a goldfish to make up for the one he lost. She thought Lu Sicheng would refuse, but he readily agreed. Tong Yao happily went to her room to prepare, putting on makeup and getting all dolled up. Lu Sicheng, normally indifferent to appearances, also meticulously chose his clothes, adding a watch, accessories, and styling his hair. The manager and Fatty saw the couple getting dressed up and knew instantly that they were going on a date. They couldn't help but gossip. The heavens seemed to be giving them a chance. As they went out to the market, Tong Yao bumped into someone carrying flowers. She fell, but Lu Sicheng caught her. The person carrying the flowers scattered the flowers, creating a beautiful scene of falling petals. When they reached the fish stall, Tong Yao wanted to buy a red fish for luck, but Lu Sicheng insisted on choosing a black fish. The owner saw them arguing and advised Lu Sicheng not to make his girlfriend angry. Tong Yao tried to explain, but Lu Sicheng cut her off and told the owner to calculate the price. He offered 500 yuan less to the vendor, but Tong Yao scolded him for being stingy. He told her to pay and left. In the end, they still bought the goldfish. Tong Yao paid, but when she turned around, Lu Sicheng was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, he appeared, grabbed her hand, and pulled her along, making her heart race. She wanted to stop to buy the kitten, but Lu Sicheng stopped her. He said, "We have 2 swordtails already," causing the girl to buy the kitten. She was with Siron. Wasn't his girlfriend Juiki? Who was this girl? After the market, they went to a noodle shop. Tong Yao devoured all the shrimp. Lu Sicheng asked her what she wanted to do next. Tong Yao thought about going back to play games, but Lu Sicheng had already bought movie tickets. He said he wasn't asking for her opinion, he was informing her. Unexpectedly, they ran into Ziran again at the cinema. Tong Yao reminded the girl that cats were very afraid of the cold and shouldn't be brought into the cinema. However, Lu Sicheng turned her head away and told her not to meddle. When they left the cinema, they were spotted by fans. Tong Yao, feeling shy, hid behind Lu Sicheng. He reminded her that she was a public figure and should be bold. Following his advice, she stepped forward and greeted the fans. The fans asked if they were dating, and Tong Yao quickly said they were just teammates hanging out. After their outing, Lu Sicheng happily released the goldfish into his tank, watching it swim around. Tong Yao went onto Ziran's livestream and saw him holding the cat she wanted to buy. He said it was a gift from a fan. Some fans recognized him from the cinema with another girl, but Ziran quickly denied it, leaving Tong Yao even more curious. Their next game was against Ziran's team, File. Their ability to reach this stage showed their strength. They couldn't be taken lightly. At the start of the game, Zirun suddenly turned to Tong Yao and gave her a meaningful smile. Before ZGDX even knew where the enemy was, they attacked Tong Yao, targeting her specifically. This team was playing a strategy of focusing their attack on her. T-Run, indifferent to the team's win or loss, solely focused on the female lead, always looking for an opportunity to attack Tong Yao, leaving her feeling helpless. This mirrored Kun's fighting style. Previously, when Lao Mayo tried to help the female lead, he was also attacked by T-Run. T-Run constantly followed the female lead, allowing Lu Sicheng to take down his teammates. Confused, the teammates couldn't understand why he kept chasing after her. T-Run's behavior resulted in ZGDX winning the match, but the ZGDX members were baffled by T-Run's actions. Tong Yao went to the bathroom to wash her hands and regain her composure. Upon returning, T-Run blocked her path and teased her. He was Korean but spoke fluent Chinese. He dared to touch the female lead, believing that being Korean and better than Chinese players allowed him to win, so a few losses wouldn't matter. He then asked Tong Yao why she hinted about seeing him at the cinema during her live stream. She responded that she never lied and didn't need to cover for him. And besides, she didn't mention his name directly. Tong Yao then bid him to teach him a lesson for bullying someone shorter than him. In the next round, T-Run repeatedly glared at Tong Yao with hatred, which Lu Sicheng noticed. He questioned Tong Yao, asking what she was flirting with the opponent for and to focus on the game, saving the explanation for later. T-Run continued using the ambush tactic, hiding in the bushes to attack Tong Yao, which shifted the audience's reaction from confusion to annoyance. She was not easily tricked, forcing him to steal jungle buffs, but Lu Sicheng caught him, using Flash to quickly chase him down and kill him. The male lead realized T-Run's arrogant nature, not caring about his team's victory or defeat, only playing by his own rules, while others knew how to work together as a team. Strangely, at the last moment, Lu Sicheng didn't attack the tower, but headed to the fountain instead, waiting for T-Run to respond to solo him. The male lead decisively defeated T-Run, a defeat he wanted to inflict on the arrogant player. ZGDX won the round. Back home, Lu Sicheng stood at the door, demanding Tong Yao explain everything. She recounted how T-Run blocked her in the bathroom, and she bit his hand to escape. Because of this incident, the female lead was punished and stood outside, forbidden from entering. Lu Sicheng also banned other members from opening the door for her. In the evening, Dong Jiao was still standing outside when the food delivery arrived for Lu Sicheng, forcing him to open the door. Dong Jiao happily carried the food inside. During the meal, Lu Sicheng insisted that Tong Yao call him next time something similar happened before she could eat. The next day, despite punishing her the day before, he knew she took the cat out and offered to drive her to the pet store. Tong Yao ran into the girl from the previous day, who noticed the female lead and initiated a conversation, asking her to watch the cat while she clocked in at work. Tong Yao readily agreed. Lu Sicheng arrived and saw the cat, asking why she was holding T-Run's belongings. Tong Yao explained that the girl who accompanied him asked her to look after it. Tong Yao even cheekily asked him if stealing someone else's cat was against the rules, because she really wanted to take the cat home. Just then, the girl appeared, putting an end to Tong Yao's naughty thoughts. That night, when she watched T-Run's livestream, he mentioned that his cat had been taken by staff for vaccinations, and that he and his girlfriend, Jia Kai, were raising the cat together. He completely ignored the other girl. But the next day, fans quickly dug up evidence of his infidelity, finding the girl's account. Her posts hinted at willingly loving in secret. The places she went to also featured a newly purchased cat, 99% identical to T-Run's. At the same time, the person with the girl heard about T-Run's scandal. She recalled the time before they started dating, when they had to love in secret, a danger even more perilous than being ambiguous. But out of love, she accepted it. Now everything had been exposed. T-Run's fans were constantly attacking her, and she realized that this love was too dangerous, and she was being used. She packed her things and left the room filled with their memories, leaving home without finding a new place to stay. She ended up sitting in the rain and was found by Tong Yao. Kwakwa, shivering, blamed herself for being too greedy and thought she was the reason for Roman 11U's career downfall. Tong Yao knew that flowery words wouldn't help a broken heart, so she gave Kwakwa her umbrella and jogged home. She had an interview with Lu Sicheng that day. Seeing her wet hair, he immediately offered her a towel and asked what happened. Tong Yao told him about meeting Kwakwa and how their love story made her feel uncomfortable and sad. Lu Sicheng suddenly sat down and said, "I'm not like T-Run. I'm a good person in the gaming world. There are still many good men, rich, handsome, and talented, who don't mess around with fans." When Tong Yao asked who he was talking about, Lu Sicheng confidently answered, "That person is me. So, do you want to give it a try?" "Try what?" Tong Yao asked. "I'm making your heart beat faster," Lu Sicheng boldly replied. Tong Yao thought he was joking and told him to stop being crazy. Lu Sicheng got angry and left, then came back immediately. Tong Yao dared not disobey her captain, so she came back and told him, "You can't use that kind of tone to confess to someone. You'll scare them away. Be gentle and I'll agree." Finally, Lu Sicheng confessed his feelings. He planned to wait until they won at least second place before confessing, but he couldn't hold back any longer. There are so many scumbags in this industry. but I'm very good." The two stared at each other. Clearly, Tong Yao liked Lu Sicheng, but she didn't agree immediately, which made him sad. "Is it because I'm too lovesick?" Tong Yao still didn't answer. But Lu Sicheng continued to ask, "If you don't like me, then why did you tell me not to meet other people that day?" Seeing that she didn't respond, Lu Sicheng pressed on. "Are you refusing me? Are you scared to agree?" "It's not like that. Do you want me to get beaten up?" Dong Jiao was stunned. "Who confesses like this?" Seeing her flustered, Lu Sicheng grabbed her hand. "I'll give you 2 hours to think carefully. Before 9 p.m., you have to give me a clear answer." Afterwards, they went out to do a press conference. Dong Jiao sat far from Lu Sicheng, prompting fans to speculate if they were having a conflict. When Tong Yao answered questions, Lu Sicheng either gave contradictory responses or different perspectives. When the Mick asked what he thought about love in the gaming world, Lu Sicheng immediately responded, "Of course it's great." He then turned to Tong Yao and asked, "Do you agree?" This sparked a flurry of discussion among the reporters. Tong Yao didn't know how to answer, but luckily, the Mick was understanding of the situation and quickly ended the interview. That night, Tong Yao didn't see Lu Sicheng practicing. His Weibo also hinted at an important moment at 8:45 p.m. When she heard the sound of his car returning, the female lead immediately ran outside. Lu Sicheng reminded her that she only had 10 minutes to give him an answer, increasing his chances of winning. He also went out of his way to get T-Run's cat for Tong Yao, adding, "If you don't agree by 9 p.m., I'll take this cat away." With only 30 seconds left, she immediately hugged Lu Sicheng and the kitten, signifying her agreement. Lu Sicheng hugged her back tightly, and their confession, aided by the four-legged friend, was a resounding success. After finding her target, Tong Yao first informed her best friend, Kim Yang, calling her over to her room to see the kitten. "I agreed to date Lu Sicheng. After 3 months, if he proves himself to be a good person, then we'll be together for the long term." For 3 months, they kept their relationship secret from their teammates. In front of the manager, Lu Sicheng held Tong Yao's hand tightly, causing her to pull away in fear. He couldn't speak, so he texted her, "Your hand is so soft, you rascal." Tong Yao sent Lu Sicheng pictures of the two cats, which made him jealous. Even the cats have a pair, even though they're both male. T-Run's situation even affected the couple, Gai Jai and Kim Yang. Fans noticed a pattern in Gai Jai's posts and speculated that he was secretly dating a female fan. Tong Yao immediately messaged her friend. After scrolling through more posts, she read a comment. Luckily, Lu Sicheng is single. This made her even more afraid to go public with their relationship, fearing it would affect him. Gai Jai bravely went live to talk about his girlfriend, who he had been pursuing for a long time, and that it wasn't a clandestine relationship. Kim Yang boldly appeared on her boyfriend's live stream. They publicly embraced and kissed each other on the cheek, making Tong Yao incredibly envious. She wished she could be as strong as her friend. That night, Tong Yao finished practice and was allowed to go to sleep first. Lu Sicheng texted her saying he missed her. He used the excuse of bringing water to Tong Yao to get away from the team. After delivering the water, he wanted to enter her room, pushed her against the wall and asked if she missed him. Then he embraced her from behind as if they hadn't seen each other for 1,000 years. She showed him fan comments saying he was single and urging others to stay away from him, as if they were trying to chase her away. Tong Yao expressed her frustration. "I feel like dating you is harder than going to heaven." Lu Sicheng replied, "If you want to go public, I'm okay with it." Then he started flirting with her, causing Tong Yao to blush. She immediately chased the shameless man out. The next day, the Equipe tournament took place. Tong Yao's team was playing their second match, so she went to watch first. The audience members sitting next to her were excited to see her and asked to take a picture together. Kim Yang also came to watch her boyfriend play. Lu Sicheng stood nearby, keeping an eye on his girlfriend. Kim Yang was gifted a support bracelet with her picture on it by a fan, making her happy. She texted Lu Sicheng about it, also mentioning that she got a picture with a fan. He replied, "Yes, I saw that." She looked up and saw him. The fans, having recognized him, were in a frenzy. The Ikea match took place, and Alpha Team won the round. All the teams who reached this round were incredibly strong. Kim Yang commented, "It's okay that your boyfriend lost one round, he can win the next one." This angered a woman sitting below, who smashed her chair and stood up, ready to fight. The entire studio turned toward them. Seeing his girlfriend being verbally attacked by his fan, Guy Jai couldn't take it anymore and stormed down to the stage to protect her. He said, "Fans are nothing, they have no right to bully my girlfriend." Kim Yang didn't want to go, but Guy Jai scooped her up in his arms and carried her away. Back in the lounge, she scolded him, saying he was being an idiot and it would affect his career. But Guy Jai made his position clear. "Playing professionally is one thing, my life and my love are another. I can't stand people saying things about you." She understood his heart and encouraged him. "Go get him." Tong Yao witnessed this scene and was deeply impressed. She wished her relationship could be as public as her friends. The keyboard warriors on the internet started gossiping that Guy Jai loved Kim Yan because of her money, which made both Lu Sicheng and Tong Yao extremely disgusted by these internet users. Tong Yao expressed her frustration for the couple, but Lu Sicheng was more level-headed. He thought Guy Jai's words to the fan were a bit too harsh. He suggested that there were better ways to phrase it, something that could be used as evidence to prove he didn't want to be bothered, not an overblown display of power. Tong Yao sighed, "Being a celebrity is exhausting." As expected, Ikibi won the third match. Next up, ZGDX was on the stage. Before the match, Tong Yao suggested using the 4-protect-1 strategy again. Lu Sicheng agreed, and no one on the team dared to say no. ZGDX was facing the team, Apocalypse Beast. Tong Yao chose the Snow Spirit, the same character Guy Jai had chosen and lost with, leading to a lot of back and forth commentary. The match began, and surprisingly, ZGDX was initially at a disadvantage. Was it because of Tong Yao's strategy? However, ZGDX recovered their form in the following minutes, turning the tables. They worked together smoothly and launched dazzling combos to defeat their opponent. Their unity and trust allowed them to secure victory. The two commentators called it a successful comeback. In the following matches, ZGDX also won, securing their place in the finals. The two strongest teams this season were ZGDX and Ikipit, who were now facing each other. It was an even match, no clear winner yet. During the press conference, a reporter asked the players about their personal love lives. Lu Sicheng, usually concise and never talking about this topic, volunteered to speak. "I want people to appreciate the players' skills, not dig into their private lives," he said. He continued, "Gamers should also be able to enjoy healthy love lives beyond their training, without diminishing their abilities. So, I hope fans who appreciate their talent will not worry." Everyone present implicitly understood who he was talking about. Lu Sicheng continued, "I'm not hiding it. I have someone I like." The interpreter at the side heard him and looked intrigued. "I truly appreciate the love and support from fans, but I hope if you genuinely love a gamer, you will come to support them at the stadium. Please stay out of their private lives." Then, he slipped his hand under the table to hold Tong Yao's hand, making her heart race. Later, the ZGDX team went home to rest. Everyone was tired and fell asleep on the bus, except for Tong Yao, who stayed awake and read the comments from that day. One fan noticed that her hand and Lu Sicheng's were both under the table, possibly holding hands. Suddenly, Lu Sicheng woke up, kissed Tong Yao lightly on the lips, and went back to sleep. She hadn't reacted in time, thinking it was a dream. When they arrived at the headquarters, everyone jumped back into gaming. Tong Yao wanted to join, but Lu Sicheng reminded her, "Did you forget something in my room?" "No." Seeing her clueless expression, he could only send her a text message. It was then that Tong Yao realized she probably had forgotten something and rushed upstairs. As soon as she entered his room, she was all over him. To thank Lu Sicheng for trusting her 4-protect-1 strategy, Tong Yao invited him on a date. The next morning, she dressed up and went out. The manager bet that Lu Sicheng would appear in 3 seconds. He was already downstairs before the 1.5-second mark. The others were all surprised. That's accurate, but something feels fishy. 3 of them rushed out to ask where they were going. "I'm going to buy something." I'm taking her to buy something. Lu Yu got the chance to tease them, buying things, or going to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register for marriage. When did you start dating? I don't want my grandson to be as short as you. Tong Yao was speechless. On the way, Tong Yao was upset with her boyfriend because he didn't defend her earlier. Lu Sicheng, being his usual playful self, said, "Don't worry. If it's a son, he'll be tall because he'll play basketball. If it's a daughter, it's fine as long as she's like you. She can easily trick a tall guy later." They went to a shopping mall and played claw machines. Girls who were into guys watched Lu Sicheng from the side, but he only focused on grabbing a bear with a hat for Tong Yao. Then he went for a second one. Whenever one fell into the hole, Tong Yao quickly snatched it up. She asked Lu Sicheng which one was cuter, and he answered, "The one in the middle." The girls standing nearby hugged each other in admiration. They then continued to grab a third, fourth, fifth, and sixth bear. When they were leaving, Tong Yao was carrying a bag full of stuffed animals. They were happily chatting when they noticed fans surrounding them. Tong Yao immediately ran away, leaving Lu Sicheng standing there alone. Later, she peeked her head out, making him truly angry. Tong Yao tried to hold his hand, but Lu Sicheng refused, showing his displeasure by walking ahead of her. He even put on a face mask and said he was too ugly to be seen with her, causing her embarrassment. Tong Yao explained, "It's not because I'm afraid of your fans throwing stones at me or becoming a topic of gossip. It's because you've never been caught up in any scandals before, and I don't want to drag you into unnecessary trouble." Lu Sicheng comforted her, "I don't care what people say about me. My life won't be affected by online comments. I work hard because I'm a good person, not because I have to build a good image to please those comments." Tong Yao didn't quite understand, but she apologized by standing on her toes and kissing him before dragging him to continue playing. This simple act made Lu Sicheng smile the entire time they were out. When they got back home, Lu Sicheng carried a large bag of stuffed bears, which made his colleagues suspicious. The manager announced that the club had arranged a fan meet and vlog for the team, mainly for leisure and fun at Xiamen, a beautiful city with delicious food and beaches. Tong Yao immediately agreed, but Lu Sicheng was the one who had the final say. He was always reluctant to participate in club activities, but seeing Tong Yao's enthusiasm, he agreed. The rest of the team cheered in delight and immediately flew to Xiamen. There was a slight issue with their hotel room, which wasn't ready yet, so everyone decided to eat at a restaurant first. Tong Yao went outside to let her mother know she was safe when a young boy ran up to her, claiming to be her fan. He openly expressed his admiration. "You're really good at playing games, I like you the most." Tong Yao was overjoyed and signed his autograph. Later, his mother ran over, not understanding what a gamer was. She only wanted her son to focus on his studies. Before leaving, the boy insisted, "Sister, I want to be a professional gamer." Just as the boy left, Lu Sicheng appeared. He asked Tong Yao, "Has your trial period ended?" She replied by lightly kissing his lips, as a sign of affirmation. He took the opportunity to push further. Unfortunately, the chubby boy saw this and was shocked, as if a volcano was about to erupt. The milk carton in his hand dropped to the ground, alerting the couple. They dragged him into the hotel and sat him down next to them. "We promise we won't tell anyone. I've been your assistant for 2 years, and you didn't choose me, but you chose Tong Yao." They finally managed to silence the chubby boy before returning to the hotel with everyone else. The next morning, the group started filming their vlog. The chubby boy was filming the main couple. To get him to delete the footage, Tong Yao and Lu Sicheng had to buy him dried pork. The group was just back in the hotel to rest when a middle-aged couple appeared, pointing at Lao Ka and causing a ruckus. They wanted to take him home, making Lao Ka annoyed and leave. Everyone had to stop them from chasing after him. The manager had to invite 2 people in for a talk. It turned out they were the parents of Lao Ka, who had traveled all the way from their hometown to demand money from their eldest son to build a house and get married for their youngest son. The father immediately caused a commotion, demanding to know Lao Ka's salary from the manager. However, a thigh couldn't reveal it. The father became furious and insisted he had the right to know because he was Lao Ka father. Lao Ka appeared and handed over all his savings from his gaming career to his parents, hoping they wouldn't make a scene. He had been sending money home every month, but the couple still felt it wasn't enough because they were addicted to gambling. This was the reason Lao Ka had avoided seeing them. Their sudden arrival and outburst forced him to give them all his savings to appease them. This was all the money he had left, and he pleaded with them to stop bothering him and his teammates at the headquarters from now on. The mother quickly stuffed the card into her husband's pocket, while Lao Ka was heartbroken. He went outside and threw away his old SIM card to sever contact with these parents who were unworthy of the title. Dong Jiao stood beside Lao Ka, comforting him. He shared with her that his parents were less capable than his younger brother. He wanted to go to school, but they wouldn't let him. They forced him to work with his father. However, Lao Ka was determined to get an education. He played games and even played on behalf of others to earn money for school. It wasn't until he met Ming Shen and was recruited to a professional gaming team that his life started to improve. Tong Yao understood the gap in technology, which made Lao Ka's parents view gaming as a mere way to make money. They didn't realize it was a dream for him. However, Lao Ka should not forget that he had teammates who cared for him. He considered this team his second family. Thus, Lao Ka happily went inside with Tong Yao. After this incident, Tong Yao was called by her best friend to her house for some shocking news. Her friend had bought the entire Ike gaming team from her boyfriend to silence the rumors. The public accused her of living off her boyfriend, who was a professional gamer. Now she was the team owner. Jin Yang wanted to organize a talk with students at their former university, with Tong Yao and Gai Jai. They wanted to enlighten students about the professional gaming industry, emphasizing that it was a dream, not just a job or a means to an end. Tong Yao discussed this with her team. Lu Sicheng was enthusiastic and readily agreed. Soon, all three of them returned to their old university. Tong Yao, Gai Jai, and Jin Yang appeared together. As the Meek asked if anyone had any questions, everyone raised their hand. One girl stood up and asked Tong Yao if gaming was her true passion or if she was doing it for her boyfriend. The entire auditorium buzzed with excitement. Tong Yao explained that it was both her job and her dream. Jin Yang and Gai Jai also shared their perspectives, emphasizing that professional gamers weren't just people who played games all day. The generation gap resulted in different perspectives. Gai Jai also confessed that his family had opposed his chosen path and that he had hurt them. From the audience, Gai Jai's mother sat and listened to her son's words. Seeing her son express himself so seriously and sincerely, she realized he had grown up. She accepted and respected his chosen path. The talk went smoothly and ended successfully. After the talk, Gai Jai's mother apologized to her son and acknowledged his maturity. It highlighted that sincere communication can bridge any gap, no matter how wide. Upon returning home, Tong Yao was surrounded by her teammates who wanted to know if she was dating the team captain. Fans had captured photos of them watching a movie and posted them online on Esport. Lu Sicheng came down and confessed to his team that he had a crush on Tong Yao, leaving his younger brother speechless. Tong Yao, embarrassed, walked away, saying it wasn't the right time to go public. The next day, the elimination match between CK and Hong Tine took place, with one team getting a chance to revive and advance to the next round. The ZGDX team also came to watch. As soon as Lu Sicheng and Tong Yao appeared, the fans immediately fell silent, making them stand out even more. Jian Yang was still uncomfortable seeing Lu Sicheng sitting beside Tong Yao. The camera operator took advantage of the situation by focusing on them, making Tong Yao extremely uncomfortable. Lu Sicheng, however, had other plans. He wanted to take this opportunity to announce to the world that Tong Yao was his girlfriend, not Jian Yang's ex-girlfriend. Therefore, he publicly kissed her, with the camera and thousands of fans witnessing the scene. Everyone was speechless. No one could have imagined this would happen. The fans were frozen in shock, while Jian Yang's heart felt like it was breaking. The news was so hot that it not only trended on Weibo, but also made headlines on television. Jin Yang was both amazed and trying to comfort Tong Yao. "Cheer up, my friend. You're about to marry into a wealthy family. If not, Mrs. Liu will come and slap you with 50 million yuan to get you away from her son. You could take the money and enjoy your life. It's not a bad deal." As if summoned, Mrs. Liu immediately called her eldest son to confirm the situation. Lu Sicheng admitted it was true and directly named Tong Yao. Mrs. Liu immediately wanted to come and meet her future daughter-in-law, causing Tong Yao to imagine a scene where she was summoned to meet the prince's mother, who would give her a 500 million yuan check to leave Lu Sicheng. She said what she meant to do, and the next day, Mrs. Liu appeared. The internet exploded with mixed reactions. Some were on Lu Sicheng and Tong Yao's side, while others condemned Tong Yao for ruining Lu Sicheng's chance at becoming champion because of love. Mrs. Liu asked everyone to leave so she could talk privately with the two. When confronted with her mother, Lu Sicheng fiercely defended his girlfriend. Even though Mrs. Liu hadn't said anything harsh, they liked her, and no one could change that. But Mrs. Liu was upset that her son had a girlfriend without telling her, and she had to find out through online news. Seeing them in love, who could bear to separate them? Soon, ZGDX headquarters officially announced to everyone that Lu Sicheng and Tong Yao from ZGDX were indeed dating and asked for everyone's love and support. Other teams, including Kun and Jian Yang, were heartbroken. After publicly announcing his girlfriend, Lu Sicheng felt burdened because he was afraid the comments and posts online would affect Tong Yao's mood. The fans were mainly targeting her, but Tong Yao was stronger than he thought. She was fearless of the backlash from the start. The two of them sat in the car, comforting each other, making the single manager feel uncomfortable. Back home, Tong Yao started a live stream and was immediately attacked by fans, but she fought back with strength and didn't let them bully her. This made Lu Sicheng, who was watching the live stream, feel like they were cursing him. He went downstairs and appeared in Tong Yao's live stream, causing the fan comments to explode. Envy, support, and pride that the ship they had been pushing had finally sailed into harbor. He wasn't afraid to kiss his girlfriend on live stream and confronted those who envied her. However, in the match against Alpha, ZGDX experienced their first defeat. The audience in the stands believed that ZGDX's captain was playing poorly due to his love life. They were sure Alpha would win. In the second match, just a few minutes in, Lao Mayo and Lao Ka started arguing. Lao Mayo kept getting killed by the enemy team, and twice his teammates didn't come to help, causing him to become angry. Lao Ka also had an attitude towards the captain when he was giving instructions. The captain let Lao Mayo have the minions because he thought saving him was more important. This resulted in ZGDX losing the second match miserably, serving as proof that love life had affected their performance. The commentators, seizing the opportunity, commented that perhaps the mid laner and Ad were in love, which caused their performance to decline, making Tong Yao incredibly annoyed. The entire team returned to their dorm to regain their spirits, and Ming Shen told them not to be so dejected because they had a match against FNC the following Sunday. But Lao Mayo and Lao Ka continued to blame each other, causing Lao Mayo to leave in anger. That night, only Lao Ka was live streaming. Dong Jiao, seeing this, could only turn to Lu Sicheng to ask him to talk to them. But this guy, upon seeing his girlfriend at his door, immediately pounced on her. One was serious, the other loved teasing. The female lead wanted the captain to stop his love affairs and reconcile the two. But his love was only for her, not for the two boys. However, Lu Sicheng still called the two out to talk. Using his extraordinary memory, he recalled every moment when Lao Mayo had made a mistake, blaming Lao Ka for not providing timely support. Dong Jiao, listening from the side, was in awe. Everyone had made mistakes, but when it came to competitive matches, winning or losing mattered. This led to friction between them. If you continue to be competitive with your opponents and your teammates, I think you too should quit the competition. He left, allowing them to sit there and reflect. Lu Sicheng's face was tense when he was talking to his teammates, but right after that, he ran to his room and happily texted his girlfriend. He could flip his mood faster than a pancake. The other two refused to make up with each other, so Tong Yao had to take matters into her own hands. She went to Lao Ka and asked if he was hungry, but he didn't answer. So, she ran over to Lao Mayo and told him that Lao Ka wanted to have a 1v1 with him. Lao Mayo fell for it and went to fight with Lao Ka. Knowing her intentions, Lao Mayo still pretended to be clueless and played with his foolish teammate. That's how the two reconciled. The next morning, the manager announced to everyone that there had been some nasty comments online about their team recently. So, the club arranged for the captain to have a live interview on his sport. But Lu Sicheng didn't want to go, and the manager couldn't easily let him off the hook. After much persuasion, he finally convinced Lu Sicheng to sit down for the interview. The Mick asked about the online rumors that ZGDX had lost to Alpha, that Lao Ka and Lao Mayo were on the verge of breaking up, and that ZGDX was about to disband. What were his thoughts on the current situation? Lu Sicheng bluntly said that those were just ridiculous comments online. He asserted that his relationship was a personal matter and didn't affect the team at all. The Mick tried to guide him to apologize to the fans, but Lu Sicheng refused. He said, "If you doubt ZGDX's ability, you can go and watch us online because our team didn't do anything wrong. We just lost a qualifier match. If that makes fans turn their backs on us, I'm truly disappointed. I wonder why ZGDX has such fickle fans." His statement quickly sparked mixed reactions online. Some felt he didn't respect his fans and demanded that they turn their backs on him. The manager and Ming Shen were immediately called to the office. The club's higher-ups criticized them for allowing those vicious comments about Tong Yao online, claiming that she had influenced Lu Sicheng. Lu Sicheng's mother immediately called to inquire about Tong Yao's situation. Dong Jiao assured her that everything was fine and urged her not to worry. Lu Sicheng's mother, being a wealthy businesswoman, called her son and told him that if he didn't want to continue with his gaming career, he could come home and inherit their assets and live a comfortable life without listening to their gossip about him. Now, online, Tong Yao was no longer called Magnolia, but was labeled as the seductress who stole the king's heart. When the netizens realized they couldn't get to Lu Sicheng, they turned their attention to Tong Yao, accusing her of being a diva. The manager reassured the team and told them to temporarily stop looking at their phones and reading those negative things. But Lu Sicheng was very strong-willed. He said, "We don't need to put down our phones, we just need to win the next match and prove them wrong." He quickly proved his point by winning 1-0 against FCK. In the second round, Tong Yao regained her form and proved her abilities, showing that she didn't just randomly join ZGDX. The team quickly dominated and won the second round, to the cheers of their loyal fans in the stands. After the match, Tong Yao had to do a post-match interview. She knew they would ask about her relationship with the captain, but this time she didn't shy away. She boldly said, "I know people always dislike female gamers in the esport world, but we also practice and analyze strategies day and night. Yet, we're accused of things that aren't true. Okay, I'll stop there, but I won't regret saying these words, even if they offend anyone." She then walked away confidently. Lu Sicheng, who had been waiting for her in the hallway, heard her words and hugged her. "You were so strong." Netizens started to support Tong Yao. The young captain, Aguang, who had been comforted by Tong Yao before, also spoke out in her defense. Other teams, including Kun and Jian Yong, also came to Dong Jiao's defense. Everyone in the gaming community who knew her well didn't hesitate to stand up for her despite public opinion. Lao Mayo and Lao Ka went live to prove that ZGDX was a cohesive team and that they were ready to stand by their little sister, Tong Yao. Just when the team was having a good time, someone sent Tong Yao a gift box. When the team heard her scream and ran out, her hand was bleeding. Inside the box was a dead snake and a razor blade hidden within. It was a despicable act. There was also a threatening letter telling her to stop competing. The manager quickly took photos of the evidence and called the police to report it. Lu Sicheng gently treated his girlfriend's wound, saying, "Your hand hurts, but it doesn't hurt as much as my heart does." This cheesy line actually stopped Tong Yao from crying. The manager told Lu Sicheng about the threatening letter, and Ming Shen suggested that Lu Yu replace Tong Yao for the upcoming match against Hong Tine, as someone had threatened to hurt Tong Yao on stage. However, Lu Sicheng knew how much his girlfriend wanted to compete, so he refused. That night, the manager brought news from headquarters that for Tong Yao's safety, she would have to temporarily stop competing. Tong Yao didn't want to put her boyfriend in a difficult position, so she agreed. Lu Sicheng was frustrated that he couldn't protect his girlfriend. He was angry at those outrageous people, so he drove out that night. Dong Jiao sent him many messages, trying to comfort him and assure him that she was okay, but she couldn't get in touch with him. No one knew where Lu Sicheng had gone, but that night, when Tong Yao was asleep, she found him lying beside her. Feeling groggy, she turned around and hugged him. Lu Sicheng channeled his anger into the match against Hong Tine, leading ZGDX to their first victory with his teammates. The reporters, standing on the sidelines, whispered among themselves, "Lu Sicheng looks like he wants to devour someone. He's so fierce." But they waited forever for Lu Sicheng to come out. The mic announced that the player declined to participate in the interview, but the reporters wouldn't let him off the hook. As soon as he got out of the car, they surrounded him, asking what had happened, why his mood was so unusual, and why Tong Yao wasn't competing. But Lu Sicheng and Lu Yu both refused to answer. Tong Yao didn't know how to comfort her boyfriend's carefree attitude. She could only go to a cafe and eat desserts with her best friend. She was worried that Lu Sicheng was resentful of her, but she didn't know why. Jin Yan comforted her, saying, "You're too sensitive. Maybe he just feels guilty because of the small cut on your finger." Tong Yao had just said that it was her fault, and now she was blaming Lu Sicheng for not caring about her. It's true that a girl's mood is hard to understand. That night, Tong Yao started to cry again, thinking that she had ruined ZGDX and Lu Sicheng, causing him to be attacked by fans. Just then, Lu Sicheng came into her room. He didn't understand why she was crying, so he could only gently help her change her bandage. The next day, Dong Jiao woke up to a message from her best friend. It was a statement from the club explaining why they wouldn't let Tong Yao compete. It also warned the malicious fans that if they continued their actions, they would involve law enforcement. Tong Yao rushed downstairs to ask the manager, "Didn't they say they would keep this a secret?" The manager explained that Lu Sicheng had pressured the club, forcing them to post this online to protect Tong Yao's safety. Thanks to that, the netizens found out the identity of the girl who sent the gift box. She was also the one who had posted nasty comments about Tong Yao, calling her a seductress. The netizens turned on her, calling her shameless and mentally unstable. They forced her to apologize, but she actually had depression. The cyberbullying caused her to take a bunch of pills and attempt suicide. Then, the netizens turned on Tong Yao again, saying she had driven the girl to her death. Fortunately, someone found the girl's depression diagnosis. She had been seeing a therapist at their hospital, but they had never seen her, so the girl was lying. The public outrage was rising, so Boss Fang was forced to make Tong Yao stop participating in ZGDX activities and force her to apologize. This angered Lu Sicheng, who retorted, "Why does my girlfriend have to apologize? She did nothing wrong." Lu Sicheng, you have to understand. We need to be humble and calm the public opinion. Aren't you afraid that this will disappoint our members? Okay, stop arguing. This is the club's decision. Lu Sicheng couldn't listen anymore. He got up and left. They may not protect ZGDX, but I'm the captain. I will protect my teammates to the end. He didn't come home until late at night, causing Ming Shen and the manager to worry. The team's practice time was approaching, so Ming Shen had to take Lu Sicheng's place. He had barely settled in when the male lead returned. Everyone tried to regain their composure and start practicing. The next morning, Tong Yao woke up early and saw her boyfriend already at the training table. As she approached, she saw candy wrappers on the table, realizing that he had been up all night, worrying. She reached out and touched his hand, stopping him. This was crucial because they were facing Ikebi, a formidable opponent with a similar skill level to Lu Sicheng. Victory or defeat was a thin line. The highly anticipated match, a clash of light and shadow, finally took place. The two commentators were even more excited than the audience. Tong Yao was in the lineup this time, and Lu Sicheng held her hand to comfort her, both of them. Lu Sicheng and the Pope stared at each other. This was their battle. Both sides summoned their strongest gods. While everyone expected Lu Sicheng to choose Xiao Tong Huan, he instead pressed on Yao Hu, signaling a quick attack and win. This confused the team members because Ikibi was a strong team, and a quick attack against them was very dangerous. The match began with both sides being cautious of each other, but after directly confronting the Pope, Lu Sicheng successfully managed to secure 260 gold. However, the Pope didn't retreat back to the base to heal, but stayed on the battlefield to kill Lu Sicheng's Yao Hu. This was no ordinary opponent. The resources of both sides were now balanced. The Pope was truly a second Lu Sicheng, willing to kill the enemy even if it meant his own death. This was a battle to the death, and he was the first opponent to make Lu Sicheng wary. Lu Sicheng pressured the bottom lane, and the Pope fought until the little fat guy came to help. The little fat guy told Lu Sicheng to return to the base to heal, and everyone thought the male lead had returned. But the Pope still carefully watched the base, and Lu Sicheng came to break it. It was exactly as he had expected. The minion wave arrived. Lu Sicheng wanted to clear the minions before leaving. Lao Mayo wanted Lao Ka to go with him to destroy the top tower, but Lao Ka didn't want to act so rashly, so Lao Mayo went alone and ended up defeated. The match reached the 11-minute mark with Ikibi in the lead, having more resources. The top and bottom lanes of ZGDX were in a tough spot. The Pope was determined to keep Lu Sicheng in the bottom lane and deny him any chance to attack. The entire ZGDX team was farming normally. The situation was reversed after a while. Gai Jai was killed, Jin En Su was also controlled by the little fat guy, and Tong Yao used her combo skill to kill them. This was the first time Iki had suffered such a heavy loss. They had lost their bottom lane tower. In such a favorable situation, instead of destroying the tower, Lu Sicheng retreated, which confused his teammates. It was too dangerous to attack the Great Serpent now. The Pope also commanded his team after reviving to attack the Great Serpent. The enemy was approaching. Lao Mayo wanted the captain to retreat, but Lu Sicheng still commanded Tong Yao to enter the battle and use her ultimate skill. He kept the Pope occupied. Lu Sicheng failed to hit with one of his skills, which prevented his teammates from retreating, and they were subsequently eliminated, giving Ikibi the victory. Lao Mayo stormed off in anger. Lu Sicheng was dazed due to his own command mistakes. Inside the locker room, everyone was silent. Ming Shen analyzed the situation for everyone, saying that the enemy team's defense was very tight, and they had moved incorrectly, appearing at the wrong time, and providing slow support, which led to their loss. He also pointed out that their arrogance was a contributing factor, as Lu Sicheng's choice of God hadn't given them any advantage. So, for the next round, they needed to better coordinate and defend against the enemy to close the score gap. Lu Sicheng then explained that he understood the Pope. If he hadn't stopped him early, they would have been wiped out by the end of the match. That's why he had to go for a quick attack. But regardless, they had lost. Lao Mayo couldn't understand and stormed out of the room. In the second round, Tong Yao chose Zhu Nu Snow Goddess, intending to play a 4 Protect 1 style. Lu Sicheng, taking Ming Shen's advice, chose Ba Nha 8-armed deity, leaving both the commentators and the enemy team unable to guess ZGDX's strategy. The match was only 13 minutes in, but Ikibi had been farming minions and their resources were stable. They were waiting for a mistake from ZGDX to capitalize on. Finally, Ikibi launched an attack, hitting Tong Yao's Zhu Nu, activating her ultimate skill to prolong the match. Ikibi saw her coming and retreated, clearly trying to draw out the match. The ad and jungler of Ikibi started attacking the Great Serpent. Lu Sicheng wasn't going to give up the serpent, so he commanded Lao Mayo to charge in and attack. However, Lao Mayo just wanted to push the tower. Lao Ka went into the cave to steal the Great Serpent, but couldn't take it from Ikibi. The whole team wanted to retreat, but the male lead reassured them. "I can do this." Lu Sicheng immediately charged in. The two teams fought fiercely, with no one backing down. It was a fight to the death, so they had to go all out. The little fat guy was eliminated. Lu Sicheng and Tong Yao teamed up to kill Rong, but then she was killed by the Pope's combo skill. Lu Sicheng held his breath and continued the fight, alone against 2 of the enemy gods. He fought with all his might, but was blocked by the support god. When he was thrown into the air by the recoil, he was hit by the Pope's attack. He lost. The screen announced that Ikibi had won. However, the Pope was concerned about Lu Sicheng's state. ZGDX returned in a somber mood. Back at the headquarters, the manager tried to comfort everyone, saying, "It's just a normal loss. It's okay to lose this match. We can still stand strong if we win the next one." But no matter what he said, no one responded. Lao Mayo stood up in frustration and confronted Lu Sicheng. The three of them tried to reason with Lao Mayo, encouraging him to think more positively, as it was too early to give up. But nothing could extinguish his anger. At the same time, Ming Shen and the manager were also disheartened and didn't know what to do. The manager worried that choosing Tong Yao was a mistake from the start, as she had a significant impact on the entire team. But Ming Shen corrected him, saying that her impact was positive, so they had to calm down. At this moment, Tong Yao was standing outside the room, trying to comfort Lu Sicheng. She knew that words were useless, so she just sat outside with him. Everyone was heavy-hearted and tired, while others felt that their captain was too stubborn. Tong Yao gently sat outside and talked to him. She shared all her thoughts since she arrived. Lu Sicheng was a very strong person, but sometimes the responsibility was too heavy for him to bear alone. He needed to share it with his teammates. After a long conversation, Lu Sicheng finally came out. He hugged Tong Yao and admitted, "I was wrong." The next morning, the two of them were waiting downstairs together. When everyone was present, Lu Sicheng stepped forward, admitting that he had made a mistake choosing Yao Hu. He apologized for making the decision without consulting them. This was the first time Lu Sicheng had humbled himself. He admitted that he had been stubborn and headstrong. He also promised to change himself to fit in better with the team. "I realize that I need you guys, so I hope you can accept my apology." He bowed his head to apologize, causing Lu Yu and the manager to almost cry. The little fat guy couldn't hold back and ran over to hug his captain. Lao Mayo couldn't hold it in anymore and burst into tears first. Finally, their team was happy again. Lu Sicheng then drove Tong Yao to the police station. The girl's family came in person to apologize and plead for reconciliation because their daughter was 18 years old and about to take the college entrance exam. However, Lu Sicheng refused to reconcile, saying that his girlfriend was only 20 years old and had already been subjected to mental threats. The girl bowed her head in apology, but her parents were impatient, saying it was just a game and she was overreacting, further solidifying Lu Sicheng's refusal to reconcile. He pulled Tong Yao out and left. Inside, the mother refused to take responsibility for her daughter's actions and tried to dodge accountability. However, this girl had previously written threatening letters to another idol, so her repeated offense meant she would be detained. This would leave a record on her academic transcript, possibly preventing her from getting into a good university, which made her mother very anxious. It was too late for the girl to regret her actions. The news of the girl's lies and deceit spread online. People learned they had wrongly blamed Tong Yao. This also served as a warning to those who might have ill intentions towards their idols, cautioning them about the law. After resolving this issue, Tong Yao and Lu Sicheng finally had some time together to enjoy some fruit. Then, Tong Yao's mother called to check up on her daughter and insisted that she bring her boyfriend home for a visit. Otherwise, the two of them would visit the headquarters. Tong Yao was scared and agreed. She told her parents that they would go back to visit them on the weekend, since she had a match coming up, then hung up the phone. She nervously asked Lu Sicheng's opinion, but he agreed without hesitation. Time flew by. It was already the weekend. Lu Sicheng and Tong Yao arrived at her house. Her mother warmly welcomed her son-in-law, but her father was obsessed with watching live streams to improve his skills, competing with his son-in-law. He had just bought a new computer and didn't know how to set it up, so this was a chance for Lu Sicheng to show off. Within minutes, Lu Sicheng had set it up. Her father immediately sat down to test it and was very satisfied. He said that he didn't object to their love, but wanted to confirm with Lu Sicheng once more that he was truly serious about his daughter. Lu Sicheng looked sincere and said, "Don't worry, I will take responsibility for her." In the evening, the two of them finally got to go home. As they got into the car, they took the opportunity to warm up their relationship. Meanwhile, Gai Jai's girlfriend was learning how to play games so she could manage the Eki team she had just bought. Seeing how hard she was working, the two of them generously shared their affection with the audience. Enough about romance, let's get back to the main tournament. The teams that advanced from the qualifier rounds to this year's National Championship Finals were CK, EQB, ZGDX, Alpha, Lamb, and Hong Tyne. These were all powerful teams that had proven their abilities, so to find the champion, they had to train and refine their strategies and tactics even more. In the first round, ZGDX beat Lamb, and CK beat FNC. So, the next opponent for the Gatekeeper was ZGDX. These two teams were destined to meet again. It was clear that ZGDX had unified their strategy and regained their previous unity in this match. Jian Yang was no longer burdened by his ex-girlfriend and was utilizing his coaching abilities to the fullest. CK played a 4 against 2 strategy, and the little fat guy sacrificed himself to keep Lu Sicheng alive. This was acknowledged by Lao Miao as a sign of courage. Dong Jiao quickly killed one member of the enemy team, avenging her teammate. Lu Sicheng knew when to advance and when to retreat. He wouldn't attack, but would let his teammates retreat while stealing the Great Serpent. Jian Yang was eliminated. ZGDX successfully pushed the tower and won the first round. During the break, Jian Yang ran into Lu Sicheng, who was eating candy. It was just like the first time they met when Lu Sicheng and his ex-girlfriend, Tong Yao, were arguing. Now, Tong Yao was his girlfriend. Seeing the two of them happily joking around, a fierce fighting spirit ignited in Jian Yang's heart. He went back to his team's resting room and devised a new strategy. He was determined to win the second round. The second round began, and CK's fighting spirit had truly increased. Within a minute of the match, they had killed Lao Ka and Lao Miao, forcing the little fat guy to lose his shield and leaving Tong Yao with no escape route. During the Great Serpent Steal, their teamwork seemed slightly better, allowing them to successfully win the second round. The third round was a decisive match, so it was incredibly tense. Lao Ka, following Lu Sicheng's instructions, left the jungle and went to the bottom lane to ambush Jian Yang. The little fat guy also came to help. As expected, the two of them worked together to defeat Jian Yang. Tong Yao also used her combo skill to kill Xiao Hua, but CK was pushed into a difficult position by the enemy team. While Jian Yang was clearing minions, Lu Sicheng assigned Lao Miao and Lao Ka to the top snake pit, Tong Yao to the left, the little fat guy and himself in the middle. Jian Yang wasn't in a hurry and began to focus on his team to steal the Great Serpent. ZGDX hid in the bushes, waiting for the enemy team to come, then charged out to attack. Yang Shen was buried, Lao Wang was controlled by Tong Yao, Hu Dai Wai, and Thao Yun Lai were killed, and the last one, Xiao Hua, also died. CK was in a bad spot. Jian Yang could only run. Lu Sicheng didn't chase him but focused on pushing the tower. Yang Shen charged forward, but he couldn't turn the tide. It was too late for his teammates to revive. The victory belonged to ZGDX. Jian Yang was convinced of their defeat this time. He also wished Dong Jiao happiness with her new boyfriend. The top 4 teams that made it to the finals, ZGDX, Ichibi, SNC, and Lamb, were all burning with fighting spirit. But ultimately, only the 2 strongest teams, ZGDX and Ichibi, could advance. Once again, facing the monster of the esport world, ZGDX was mentally prepared for a fight to the death. But before that, they had to eat a satisfying meal first. It was also Tong Yao's birthday today. Jin Yang was the first to call and wish her happy birthday. "Honey, do you want shoes, bags, dresses, or gowns? Let me know so I can place the order." Tong Yao wouldn't let her best friend tell Lu Sicheng it was her birthday. She was afraid he would buy her something so expensive that she couldn't repay him even if she worked her whole life. When she returned to the dinner table, the little fat guy had eaten all the food. Tong Yao didn't get to save any for herself. He was so obsessed with eating and drinking that he ended up spending the whole day in the bathroom and had to be hospitalized. Everyone waited anxiously outside. Finally, the doctor came out to reassure them. "He just has acute gastritis and a bit of a fever. He'll be fine." As soon as the doctor left, everyone rushed into the patient room to visit their gluttonous teammate. The manager blamed everyone, saying he was worried sick as the team's designated caretaker. The little fat guy just said he was hungry and wanted to eat cakes, leaving the team helpless. Only Tong Yao felt sympathetic and told Lu Sicheng to buy the little fat guy a bag of cakes for a snack. So, he grabbed her poor wallet and went to the convenience store. This rich guy was so stingy. When paying, Lu Sicheng playfully took out his girlfriend's ID card to check it. He realized it was her birthday. Luckily, it wasn't past midnight yet, so he quickly rushed home to prepare. Tong Yao was sitting in the hospital, texting with her mother and then making a silent wish when her teammates, some carrying flowers, others carrying cakes, sang her a happy birthday song. The little fat guy, thinking it was for him, quickly sat up. But everyone walked past him, so he joined them. The unexpected happiness touched Tong Yao deeply. She sincerely thanked her teammates. While her girlfriend was making her wish, Lu Sicheng quietly came up behind her and put a necklace around her neck. This was his small gift to her this year. He said, "I'm giving you a necklace this year. Next year, I'll give you a wedding dress and a marriage certificate." The manager also had a gift, but it was for the whole team, a good luck charm for safety and prosperity. Then, the whole team slapped hands, determined to give their all in the upcoming match against Ikibi. At the same time, the enemy team was also slapping hands, vowing to win tomorrow. The national scale tournament, after many qualifying rounds, had finally chosen 2 true kings. Each team was exceptionally skilled, and the competition was fierce. But there was only one cup, and only the truly strongest deserved to win it. The national scale tournament was broadcast live on television. Tong Yao's parents at home were preparing snacks and fruit to cheer her on. The other eliminated teams gathered together to watch the match and bet on who would win. The match officially began. The little fat guy hid in the bushes, waiting for the enemy to come and scare them into unconsciousness. The result was that when he jumped out, he was attacked by the enemy team, losing health points and needing to call for help from the captain. However, the ZGDX team was still very relaxed, teasing each other. On the other side, they were completely serious. The Pope's god had reached level 3. He went to attack the tower, wanting to overwhelm his opponent. But after entering the tower, he was attacked and only had a little health left. He could only escape using dash. The Pope acted recklessly, almost getting caught by the little fat guy. The enemy team came to steal Lao Ka's items, so he called Tong Yao to join in the attack and quickly control the Ensu, killing them without hesitation. Tong Yao and Lao Ka coordinated well, securing the first kill. However, Ikibi quickly found an opportunity to retaliate. Tong Yao was attacking Gai Jai, who was almost out of health. She wanted to secure a kill, but Gai Jai counterattacked. The female lead wanted to retreat, but it was too late. She was attacked by Ensu from the bushes and taken down. Dong Jiao, after respawning, was immediately chased by the mid laner and jungler. After 5 minutes of fighting, their gold was only half that of their opponents. Lu Sicheng had an advantage in the bottom lane, but was still being pressured by the Pope overall. The little fat guy tried to protect the tower, and the enemy team started to attack the taco. Lu Sicheng didn't let them attack. He decided to avoid a direct confrontation to prepare for a level up. On the Ekib side, the Pope, with his extensive experience, knew his opponent wouldn't come to fight because they were busy leveling up. Ikibi took advantage of the situation to attack the taco and then force their opponents into a team fight. Lu Sicheng didn't want to fight and ordered Tong Yao to clear minions. But she decided to go on the offensive, forcing her teammates to join her. This led them into the enemy team's trap, and all of them were eliminated except for Lao Mayo, who managed to escape. Tong Yao apologized to Lu Sicheng, but he reacted with unusual calmness. The other teammates also tried to cheer her up. Ikibi went to attack the Great Serpent, and ZGDX also seized the opportunity to charge in and take it. Ikibi was caught off guard and was struck by ZGDX, allowing them to claim the Serpent. The enemy team's Dung Dung was also taken by Lu Sicheng. ZGDX chased them to Ikib's base. Gai Jai was killed, leaving only the Pope. Unable to wait for his other teammates to respawn, the Pope was taken down by Lu Sicheng. ZGDX destroyed the enemy team's base and won the match. After a short break, the second round started. Lao Ka stealthily hid in the bushes in the bottom lane, waiting for the right moment to attack with Lu Sicheng. Lu Sicheng managed to lure the Pope into a trap. Only Lu Sicheng could trick the Pope. Lao Ka went to the bushes near the top lane river to ambush Rong Rong. However, Rong Rong noticed Lu Sicheng's unusual behavior and immediately told his teammates to retreat. But Ensu appeared in the bottom lane and unleashed 3 skills to lock down Lu Sicheng. The Pope, with full health, and Liang Sheng quickly charged forward to kill Lu Sicheng. This time, taking advantage of Lao Ka's absence, Ikib not only killed Lu Sicheng, but also cleared their jungle. They timed everything perfectly. Tong Yao rushed to kill Gai Jai, but she was ambushed by Ensu. Ikimi wanted to take down 2 of ZGDX's towers. Lu Sicheng immediately ordered Lao Mayo and the little fat guy to defend them, while he and Lao Ka went to steal the serpent. Stealing the serpent at this time was risky, as they might be discovered and wiped out. Everyone thought ZGDX would lose this round, as Iki was already preparing to attack the serpent. Once they got the serpent, ZGDX would have a chance to turn the tide. Ikibi used a 5 against 2 strategy to surround Lu Sicheng and Lao Ka. They didn't have time to get help. The serpent was taken from them. It seemed ZGDX was going to lose badly in this round. No problem, there was still another round to make up for it. During the break, the Pope and Lu Sicheng bumped into each other. They didn't threaten or taunt each other. They simply encouraged each other to keep up the good work. This was what it meant to be a professional esports player, genuine respect for their opponents. The intense third round began. Dong Jiao chose Onakiri, which surprised everyone, as it was the god she had been defeated by Ikib in the past. It was also a way of saying that she was going to get revenge this time. As soon as the match began, Tong Yao was fiercely harassed by Gai Jai. Ensu was hiding in the bushes in the middle lane, preparing to ambush. The female lead hid under the tower, so scared to come out, that she was attacked by Gai Jai and Ensu. Lao Mayo arrived to support Tong Yao, and he managed to take down Ensu. The 2 of them worked together to kill Gai Jai. ZGDX had a 2-kill lead and went to attack the taco. Ikib advanced towards the snake pit, but ZGDX didn't react. They just sat around, joking and laughing, seemingly unbothered. When the snake's health was almost depleted, ZGDX charged in and stole it, infuriating their opponents. They had been attacking the snake the whole time, while ZGDX had been hiding in the bushes, waiting for the snake to be low on health, and then rushed in to steal it. ZGDX was cunning. This third round went on for an incredible 50 minutes. Witnessing Dong Jiao and the little fat guy becoming sleepy and fighting more on willpower than skill, the match became a test of who could outlast the other. However, the prestigious cup quickly lifted the team's spirits. The little fat guy joined in with a hilariously awful song, and Lao Mayo even contributed his raspy voice. Considering the outcome, winning or losing didn't matter much anymore. Even the stoic Lao Ka and Lu Sicheng started singing. As ZGDX was singing, the enemy team, caught by surprise, attempted to force a push toward the tower. Ikib switched to defense mode. Both sides clashed intensely. Dong Jiao was eliminated by the Pope, and Ensu, low on health, was taken down by Lu Sicheng. The little fat guy was killed, and Lu Sicheng killed the Pope too, leaving him with depleted health. Gai Jai seized the opportunity to eliminate him. Jin Yang, sitting on the ZGDX fan side holding a Tong Yao banner, got up to cheer for her. When she realized she was at a friend's house, she awkwardly sat down. Ikib started to push the tower, but Lao Ka and Lao Mayo couldn't handle it. Dong Jiao's minions were only 10 seconds from respawning. Lao Ka was out of health, and Lao Mayo was eliminated. The audience held their breath, watching every second. Dong Jiao respawned. She resurrected and immediately killed Yu Jai, launching a rapid attack, using all her skills to take down Gai Jai. The little fat guy also rushed to support her. In the final moments, Tong Yao secured a triple kill. ZGDX had a chance. Lu Sicheng was about to respawn. They both rushed towards the enemy team's high ground. It was all up to them now, win or lose. On the other side, the Pope had also respawned. Lu Sicheng fought the Pope while Tong Yao seized the opportunity to circle around and attack the main base. 2 against 1, either you succeed or you get screwed. Lu Sicheng rushed in and destroyed the opponent's tower. His teammates cheered his name. This time, they had conquered the throne. The National Championship Cup belonged to ZGDX. The team members were thrilled. Lu Sicheng kissed his girlfriend on live stream in front of thousands of people. Gai Jai, although defeated, still had his girlfriend in the audience cheering him on. So, he jumped into the stands and kissed his girlfriend. This double dose of dog food probably made the audience full. In this moment, ZGDX raised the prestigious cup together. Their dream had become reality. They had teammates, trust in each other, love, understanding, and most importantly, they lived the life they desired, following their dreams and enjoying every beat of their hearts. Most importantly, they lived for themselves. Everyone on the team had faced opposition from their parents about pursuing a professional gaming career, but ultimately, they proved their mettle to their families. This was the purpose of the members of the ZGDX champion team. The movie ends here. If you're still afraid of anything, live for yourself. Youth only happens once. If we are strong, no one can stop us from reaching our dreams. See you in the next movie.